What's up guys, this is your favorite fanfic YouTuber, the Fanfic Majesty, and welcome to another amazing video. You can follow me on Patreon for exclusive stories. 2 at Chapter 26. The Realm of the Great Swordsman. Previous chapter. Next chapter advertisement. Chapter 26. The Realm of the Great Swordsman. Time flies. 2 months passed quickly since the last time the Whitebeard pirates and the Golden Lion pirates faced off. Murphy has been guarding Marine Base with Garp. The days in Marine Base are naturally quite boring. Some nautical basics are interesting at first, but Murphy gets them all quickly. In less than a week, he learned some things that no navigator could master in his life. But it also made Murphy extra boring. So all he has to do every day is eat 3 meals a day, practice ryotsu, Kido, and swordsmanship. Especially in terms of swordsmanship, since that fight with Rayleigh, Murphy has gotten closer to the realm of a great swordsman. Although it is an improvement in swordsmanship, Murphy can also feel that his strength is growing rapidly. Sitting in the training ground, it's so quiet. Sitting there, Murphy seemed to be able to feel that the world today is completely different from the past. Everything around became quiet, as if all sounds stopped abruptly, as if he had fallen into another different world. Advertisement. But then, Murphy felt something different again. It came from the outside. It was the sound of breathing. It wasn't the breathing of a person or some kind of animal, but a wooden stake in front of him. And this breathing sound didn't weaken, but was continuously amplified, and became more and more clear. Murphy stood up and stepped forward, this time not using his zanpakuto, but a simple wooden knife at random. Brush. The crisp sound of piercing the air suddenly sounded, which was particularly harsh in this silent world. Immediately afterwards, a blue light flashed suddenly. The simple wooden knife went straight from top to bottom, and easily cut the wooden pile in front of it. The extremely flat scratches fell directly along with a thin line of the stake. Congratulations to host for taking the initiative to promote to the realm of great swordsman. Reward. Host increased to 10% template unlocking level. Close black lens bracket. Hearing the voice in his ears, Murphy can be completely sure this time that he has indeed directly stepped into the realm of the great swordsman. But what surprised Murphy even more was that after he was promoted to the strength of the great swordsman, the template system was also unlocked. This really surprised him. Advertisement. Aizen with 10% combat power. This combat power is probably quite powerful. It is no exaggeration to say that this strength already has sufficient self-protection ability in this world. Although the great swordsman does not mean that he has the combat power of Admiral level, but at least Admiral has supplemented the combat power of the level of Foil Vista. Is this only 10% of Aizen's power? Thinking of this, Murphy couldn't help frowning. It is undeniable that Aizen is indeed very powerful, but the great swordsman should have reached the strongest level of combat power in the world. This is only 1/10 of Aizen's power, which is too exaggerated. Open black lens bracket. Ding. Answering host. The unlocking level to 100% is not the stage of fusion of Aizen and Hogyoku, but the strength of Aizen during the Millennium Blood War. Close black lens bracket. Just when Murphy was wondering, the system suddenly answered Murphy's doubts. During the period when Aizen was sealed and imprisoned, ryotsu was still produced continuously. By the time of the Millennium Blood War, it was clear from Urahara Kazuki's evaluation that Aizen's strength at that time had far surpassed that of Aizen, who evolved from the 5th stage of Hogyoku. Even during the period of being sealed, Aizen's heart is constantly improving his strength, and he can even smash the Palace of the Spirit easily. Didn't you expect it to be the Aizen of that period in the end? This is really... Feeling the current power in his body, Murphy slowly opened his eyes, and sighed involuntarily. I can only say that it is indeed Aizen. It doesn't need too much explanation, the name Aizen already represents everything. Only 10% of the strength has been unlocked, and Murphy can already use all the Kido at this time. This level is completely different from other Shinigami. Murphy can clearly feel that maybe he only needs to unlock about 20% of his strength, and he may already be able to fight Roger and others. Hado no 90 black coffin. As Murphy's voice fell, dense black glossy thin lines rose directly around an iron pile not far in front, covering the entire iron pile in the blink of an eye, and then formed a huge and incomparably black. The coffin stood before him. Advertisement. But Murphy didn't release it with all his strength, but narrowed the range of black coffin as much as possible. But even so, the height of the huge black coffin can still be seen in the entire Marine branch. The Marines, who were performing daily tasks or doing various things, saw the huge coffin suddenly appearing on the training ground, and each of them showed panic and puzzled expressions on their faces, staring blankly at the huge coffin. After a pause for a few seconds, a creepy sound suddenly came out from inside the black coffin. Hiss hiss. The terrifying cutting sound resounded continuously in the black coffin, as if there were countless thin knives dancing inside. Has the kid thought about developing any strange abilities? Sensing the unique aura emanating from the black coffin, Garp glanced this way, looking at the huge black coffin with some curiosity. The only person in the world who can use Ryotsu is Murphy, so Garp immediately felt that it was something Murphy did. After a while, the black coffin suddenly burst, turned into fragments and disappeared into the air. And the huge iron pile just now has completely disappeared. Chapter 27 The Confrontation ends. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. Chapter 27 The Confrontation ends. Although it is only 10% of the progress now, and it is still 90% away from fully unlocking. Having stronger strength means that Murphy can challenge stronger people and unlock templates faster. Sooner or later, Murphy will be able to reach the level that Aizen can easily blast Ryotsu's palace just like Aizen. And even stronger, because he's not going to exactly follow Aizen's pace, especially after getting Hogyoku. The role of Hogyoku is not to break the realm of Shinigami and Hollow, but to guide people's potential and help users become stronger in the direction they expect. Simultaneously, in a blink of an eye, the confrontation between Whitebeard and the Golden Lion pirates gradually calmed down with the passage of time and Marine's staring eyes. The signs of some guns being on fire slowly dissipated, and the main force of the Whitebeard pirates also retreated to their lair. The Golden Lion pirates are floating in the air without a trace. This confrontation came and went quickly, not contrary to most people's expectations. In the end, both Whitebeard and Golden Lion gave up, not giving Marine a chance to sneak attack. Advertisement. But with the end of the confrontation, another thing suddenly began to sweep the entire new world. That was about Murphy's crazy killing at sea a few months ago, which angered many big forces one after another. Originally, he thought that after this incident was over, the liquidation would begin. But at this moment, things spread like wildfire about Murphy being Marine. Don't think too much, it's naturally from the Roger pirates. Naturally, this news inevitably spread to various major forces, especially the Golden Lion and Whitebeard. Moby Dick, a huge and incomparable temperament, is fluttering with the sea wind, and the curved crescent Whitebeard is dancing with the wind in the air. Whitebeard pirates. On deck. Is the guy who moved us actually Marine? It's quite brave to sail alone in this new world sea. Whitebeard sat on top, and said without changing his face after hearing the information that came back. Although it is said that Murphy caused quite a stir in New World before, it is nothing more than a small wave to people at the level of the three great pirates. Still, Whitebeard was surprised that Murphy dared to do that. In New World, Marines have too many enemies after all, and few people would act alone, even Marine Admiral. But a student from the Marine elite camp dared to do this, which surprised Whitebeard. Advertisement. There's really a terrible talent coming out of Marine. After leaving some comments like this, Whitebeard didn't say anything more. Although he is a genius, who is he? He's Whitebeard. Simultaneously, Golden Lion pirates. Marine's bastard actually let a student from the elite battalion come to New World and turned the world upside down. After hearing the information about Murphy, Golden Lion was obviously not as calm as Whitebeard. In his opinion, what Marine did was a provocation to all pirates in New World. Wouldn't doing this tell the whole world above board that Marine can find any student to come out and act freely in the so-called New World where there are so many big pirates? There is no way to do this. No one knew his identity before. If he knew that he was Marine, this situation would definitely not happen. Seeing Golden Lion's angry look, the cadres on the side also persuaded him. If it is someone else, including Whitebeard, it will not be easy to provoke them, just like this confrontation. Once the battle starts, it will be a battle between dragons and tigers. Think of one result, that is complete annihilation. So at this time they only expect Golden Lion to be calmer. I'm not going to make a big fuss over a brat. Glancing at the others, how could Golden Lion not understand what they meant? Of course he wouldn't challenge the combat power of naval headquarters so recklessly. it's just that he was unhappy about this matter. Advertisement. But since it is Marine, there will be a chance to meet again sooner or later. Golden Lion's eyes flashed a murderous intent. Since the opponent has such strength, he must lead Marine's fleet alone in New York after a period of time. World sailing or guarding a certain Marine base. When Garp's threats leave, that's when he's dispatched. Even if he's a genius, Marine can't be protected 24 hours a day. If that's the case, he's not a genius, but a flower in a greenhouse. In fact, as Golden Lion guessed, it is impossible for Marine to protect Murphy 24 hours a day, especially Garp, a reliable guy. No, Murphy just caused a big commotion over there, and Garp immediately called him over. Needless to say, it was naturally because the confrontation between Golden Lion and Whitebeard had ended, so Garp, as always, planned to let Murphy alone. New World wandering around well. Anyway, he also received a mission from Zephyr, so it was impossible for Murphy to stay in the Marine base easily all day long. Inside Garp's office, Murphy boy, what do you come to see me for? If it's about going to sea, then don't talk about it. This is the trial that Zephyr entrusted to you. Seeing Murphy coming, Garp thought Murphy wanted him to come again. Give more time to practice. After all, during this time in Marine base, Murphy spent most of his time practicing by himself. Murphy walked across to Garp, shook his head and said, Vice Admiral Garp, what I want to talk to you is not this matter, but another important issue. There is a touch of helplessness in the square-framed lenses. 13% Chapter 28. The Whereabouts of the World Destroyer. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. Chapter 28. The Whereabouts of the World Destroyer. Huh? Hearing Murphy's answer, Garp gave the boy in white a strange look. I want Vice Admiral Garp to use Marine's intelligence system to help me find the location of these pirates. Otherwise, sailing in the waters of New World all day long is simply a headless fly. After finishing speaking, the white-clothed man in front of him, the boy slowly handed several reward orders to Garp. This is. Seeing the reward order that Murphy handed over, Garp was stunned when he saw the first one. The first reward is World Destroyer Waldo. Although he knew that Murphy was a genius, and that his strength had grown quite rapidly recently, Garp never thought that Murphy would be the first to target World Destroyer. Although the strength of World Destroyer is not as good as their Marine Admiral and the three big pirates, it is still quite a top existence in the entire New World. Unexpectedly, Murphy was the first to target the monster-like existence of World Destroyer. Of course, it's not just World Destroyer, Crescent Moonhunter, Big Wine Barrel, Evil King. I need the whereabouts of these people, Murphy added immediately. This time, Garp was completely stunned. Advertisement. A newcomer. A rookie who hasn't graduated from the Marine training camp actually wants to go after these famous big pirates. When did these big pirates become so worthless? Or has it become too much food, too old? Is it time to be young again? He was blatantly told by a rookie that he was going to be hunted down. Although there is no way to solve them all, but in the past few months, if we can find the exact location, it shouldn't be a big problem to solve the two people. Murphy's words are amazing. This completely dissipated Garp, who was still holding a fluke in his heart. Originally, he had a little hope that Murphy wanted the whereabouts of these people to avoid these big pirates as much as possible, but in the end it was consistent with his first thought, and Murphy was really going to go after these people. This also caused Garp to hold back all the instructions that Garp was going to say, and his face turned red. Murphy actually wanted to trouble these big pirates. Not to mention Murphy, even some Marine Vice Admirals wouldn't dare to do this, would they? After all, each of these big pirates is not easy to mess with. Although some Vice Admirals can beat them, some can't, but overall they're very dangerous. And now a student dares to do this kind of thing so arrogantly. This not only slaps those pirates in the face, but also slaps a lot of Marine Vice Admiral in the face. This kid is really a monster. Thinking of this, Garp also felt a little dumbfounded. Advertisement. But when he thinks about Murphy's terrifying talent, and the training these days, Garp has some confidence in Murphy's strength. Compared to when he was in the elite camp, Murphy at this time is completely different from the Murphy before. I have to say that New World is indeed a very different place. Whether it is active or passive, you have to become stronger when stepping into this sea area. Otherwise, it will only become a dry bone on the seabed. Forget it, since you want to know, I'll tell you. but I only know the whereabouts of World Destroyer Waldo. That guy is now parked in Sin City." Sin City? Hearing the word, Murphy was a little curious. Whether it was about One Piece in the previous life or some sea conditions introduced to him by Zephyr before, there was no mention of this sinful city. And the word is not a good place to know as soon as you hear it, and it is very likely that the influence is quite large. Garp explained. Sin City is an island at the junction of the middle half and the first half of New World, and it is a very popular island with pirates, because everything in that place is very simple, and you can do whatever you need. Snatching from others. It can be said that it embodies the essence of pirates into ultimate. As long as you have the strength, you can do whatever you want, and many big pirates are not willing to lower their value to go anywhere, so it almost becomes a pirate. A thief's paradise plus grave. No. It's the paradise of the strong and the tomb of the weak, Murphy answered Garp's words. A soft light was revealed in the lenses of the square-rimmed glasses, but his brows were slightly frowned. That's right, but there are no ordinary residents there at all. And all the pirates from New World gathered together to snatch supplies from each other, so Marine didn't pay attention to the pirates here. Garp said a little unhappy. It is clear that a group of garbage is gathered in one place, but the higher-ups have always refused to issue an order to attack. Advertisement, of course. Garp is not stupid, so he can naturally guess what the above is thinking. After all, as long as he is left alone, the lives of those pirates will be harvested continuously here, which is naturally a good thing for Marine. Vice Admiral Garp, I understand what you mean. Hearing what Garp said, Murphy understood Garp's attitude. In fact, even if Garp doesn't say anything, Murphy will choose to clean up all the pirates there. After all, for him, mosquito legs are also meat, let alone a whole island of pirates. If they can all be cleaned up, the effect will be very good. As for what Marine thinks, then he can't control that much. Seeing the young man in white in front of him immediately understood what he meant, Garp couldn't help but look at Murphy twice more. He is strong, talented, and has a high emotional intelligence. He treats enemies like a qualified Marine, and treats ordinary people and Marines with incomparable gentleness and a strong affinity. It's no wonder that Kong immediately felt that Murphy was the perfect Marine marshal. Even Garp didn't automatically approve of Murphy. Such a person is naturally able to convince the public as the Marine marshal. Chapter 29. City of Sin. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. Chapter 29. Sin City. A week later, a small boat of Murphy sailed slowly towards the central waters of New World. Although he said he hadn't looked at the map yet, Murphy could tell at a glance that the island was the so-called Sin City mentioned by Garp and him earlier. The reason is also very simple, because from a distance, the surroundings of that large island are very different from the ports and piers of other islands. There are almost all fishing boats and merchant ships parked on the ordinary docks, while some pirate ships are more and some are few. And the port in front of it is completely all pirate ships, with huge skull logos painted on the sails. Unlike other places, all the sails here are all in this look. On the contrary, the white single sail without any markings on Murphy's boat looks a little different. Just when the boat stopped, Murphy got off the boat, and a middle-aged man walked over with several women who were dressed in extraordinarily coquettish clothes. Advertisement. Hi guest. My name is Nimitz. Guest, you seem to be here for the first time, right? Shall I introduce the situation here to you? Just now, a name and a certain Marine Commander-in-Chief, Marine Admiral, the guy who called himself Nimitz, with the same name as the man came over. From his appearance and the few coquettish women beside him, I am afraid that this one is the local chickenhead. Of course, Murphy neither likes nor dislikes such a person, but simply feels that something is wrong. Guest, let me tell you that this island has some unique rules. Since you are a newcomer, I can tell you some hidden rules as long as you come to my shop. After all, foreigners still have to come here. Be careful, if you don't pay attention, it will easily lead to innocent bloodshed. The man who claimed to be Nimitz narrowed his eyes, completely looking like a profiteer. This appearance is probably trustworthy for the vast majority of people. Because merchants make money, for those pirates with strong spending power, such people are very safe. But, I don't think a businessman can survive in this place. I just deliberately closed my eyes because I wanted to hide my thoughts. Observing the movements of the facial muscles of the guy who called himself Nimitz in front of him, Murphy already had a general feeling in his heart, made some judgments. Of course, what he said just now was only in Murphy's mind, and he didn't say it directly. Immediately, Murphy twitched his lips slightly and asked, although I don't want to, but since it's for the purpose of obtaining information, then I'll listen to you. Immediately, Murphy walked up to the two coquettish-looking women next to the man, and stretched out his hand to embrace the two together in his arms. Seeing Murphy's actions, the smile on the man's face became even wider. However, he didn't show it very blatantly, but thought of it well in a hidden way. Advertisement. It seems that you already understand, then I will show you the way first. Nimitz also gestured to Murphy, signaling him to go this way. After speaking, Nimitz began to bring Murphy into the city. But just as soon as they left, a group of people came out from behind, at least 20 or so. Damn it. Are you saying that the boss is sick? He's just alone and we can just grab him. Why are you taking things step by step like usual? Hey, you don't understand this. Why we can survive on this island for so long is all due to the boss's caution and strategy. Even if we are alone, we must follow the previous steps and make no mistakes. Damn it, let's not talk about luck, it's just this ship that let us lie in wait for a long time, we must be poor. If you have business, don't dislike the fact that you earn less, and from the appearance of that kid, he doesn't look like he is suffering. Maybe he is a nobleman from that place. Maybe there are many good things on board. Soon, the group of more than 20 people boarded Murphy's boat, but after a full half an hour of searching, there was nothing on the boat except a bed. Just basic food like some fruits and meat, fresh water. What the hell, so poor? There's nothing of value. After searching for half an hour, they couldn't find anything. These pirates looked quite angry. Could it be that the money is on that kid? You're so King cautious? Thinking of the white robe on Murphy's body, these pirates can almost be sure that Murphy must have put all the money on him. Damn, forget it. Let's go back, wait until the boy loses strength on the woman at night before doing anything. Advertisement. Inside the hotel. This is a small hotel that looks very remote. After the man who called himself Nimitz brought Murphy in, as soon as he entered, the scene inside appeared in Murphy's eyes. Although it is a small hotel, it is very clean and tidy inside. You can also see many women cleaning inside. Guests, it's not expensive once, 10,000 Baileys a night, you can pick as many people here as you want. The businessman named Nimitz had a flattering look on his face, and then added, but if you want information, you have to pay another 200,000 Baileys. There is almost no flaw in this black-hearted businessman whose interests are paramount. But Murphy's smile still didn't change, especially when he felt that there were already more than 20 people approaching in his direction. Although I don't particularly care about this little money, I still cherish this life. Murphy immediately shook his head, squinting his eyes with that gentle smile. The breeze blew slightly, blowing the young man's white hair, revealing a gentle and handsome face. 4% Chapter 30 Knowing the Whereabouts of Valder. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. Chapter 30 Knowing the Whereabouts of Valder. However, for Nimitz in front of him, he felt something bad from the bottom of his heart. However, out of professional habits, he still put on a smiling face and said, "Guest, you can really joke, our place can be said to be the safest place. How could life be in danger?" But this time, Murphy didn't answer, but put his hands in his pockets, looking like some scientific researcher on TV. Simultaneously, as a bounty with a bounty of more than 300 million, the man known as Nimitz suddenly felt a deadly danger. Your method is good. You use the appearance of a businessman to lure other people to come here, and then kill them directly while they're at their weakest, right? If you are a newcomer who has never been here before, you will be tricked. Plus your strength is sufficient to deal with most situations. Murphy raised the corner of his mouth slightly, and simply exposed the man's thoughts in front of him. You must know that Murphy has hundreds of years of Aizen's experience in his mind, so how could such a simple trick fool him? You bastard! Hearing Murphy's direct debunking of his thoughts, the man's face became extraordinarily gloomy. Advertisement. He can guarantee that his disguise is perfect, even those old foxes may not be able to see the problem, but now an unknown kid has directly seen through it. Since this is the case, then I can only force it directly. Although I haven't done this in a long time, it doesn't mean that I'm so easy to mess with. Indeed, to be able to do this kind of profitable business in such a place openly, without worrying about being targeted by others, this alone is enough to show how strong the man in front of him is. After all, here, if he is not strong, he will be directly killed by others, and then directly replaced. In an instant the man in front of him directly turned into a huge tiger, about 5 meters high, with a pair of animal pupils that were heavy and extremely oppressive. This is the devil fruit ability of this man. Zone? And the strength doesn't look bad, Murphy said lightly, feeling the sense of oppression emanating from the orc in front of him. Of course, for him, just this level is not a threat at all. At the same time outside, the 20 or so subordinates of the man in front of him also felt the change of his own captain. Knowing that the matter might have been exposed, they rushed back into the hotel at a faster speed. Now that their face has been torn apart, they don't have to hide. It seems that the guys under you are back. Hearing the movement outside, Murphy was still as unhurried, as if he didn't care about the situation that he was surrounded at all. Seeing Murphy's confident look, the face of the man in front of him became even more gloomy. If the other party is not a fool, it means that the other party has the ability to solve all of them. Advertisement facing such a character, he was honestly not willing to be an enemy. Even if the opponent is only as strong as himself, he is not willing to be an enemy. He is no longer the passionate young man who fought hard in the sea. Now he just wants to make some money safely. Little brother, if you don't mind, we can talk about it, since you have seen my purpose, but you still keep up, you must have a plan. It would be great if it can be resolved peacefully. Oh, sounds like a good suggestion. I heard that lunatic Waldo is here? You should have information on him, right? Murphy asked the man in front of him. What? Your target is World Destroyer Waldo? That lunatic? Hearing Murphy's question, the man in front of him widened his eyes. Although it is said that Waldo's reward at this time is only 200 million, but that is because Waldo debuted too late. Just like he already has a reward of 300 million, but if he wants to fight head-on, he will probably die in the hands of Waldo in less than 10 moves. The bounty is only 200 million, but the actual combat power is much higher than this number. It can be said that except for the level of the 3 big pirates, almost no one is Waldo's opponent. Just tell me the information, it's up to me what to do, Murphy said lightly. Okay, anyway, what you do is up to you. Soon, the man named Nimitz calmed down. It was enough for him to provide information to the white-robed boy in front of him, and he didn't care what the battle with the otherworld destroyer would be like. No matter who wins, there is no loss for him in the end. Now he just wants to avoid fighting. Advertisement: Waldo is near the central square now. I don't know exactly where it is. I heard from others that the guy came up to grab food and money. Grabbing money and food is a normal thing in this sea. Especially food. When sailing in strange seas like New World, there may be a sudden storm, and the food on board will be swept away in an instant, or may be inedible. This is quite fatal for most pirates. If they are stronger, they can use sea kings to satisfy their hunger, but there is no way to directly replenish fresh water. All in all, the problem of food when sailing on the sea is quite serious. In many cases, the reason why pirates fight each other is not because they are unhappy with each other, but simply because they have to snatch food out of helplessness, otherwise they will only die. Attacks on merchant ships are also for this reason. Central Plaza. Thank you for your hard work. After speaking, Murphy turned and left. At the same time, he gently shook off the bloodline on the Zanpakuto in his hand, letting it go back into its sheath. Blood? Seeing bloodline on Murphy's Zanpakuto, the guy named Nimitz widened his eyes. Chapter 31 Crazy Money Robbery. Previous chapter. Next chapter advertisement. Chapter 31. And at this moment, when the Zanpakuto in Murphy's hand had been sheathed, a saber light suddenly lit up. The man's figure froze for an instant. Pooh. A few seconds later, a large amount of blood splashed from the man's waist and sprinkled in the clean hotel. 300 million? Is this the level of the so-called Tiger Cook? I'm afraid that the long-term comfort has made you lose your sensitivity to battle. You couldn't even detect the moment I drew my sword. Regardless of the guy who has fallen on the ground behind and calls himself Nimitz, Murphy naturally knows something about this person. Cook, the tiger with a bounty of 300 million, looks different from the one on the bounty order, but he used it from the other party. After the devil fruit ability, Murphy remembered that he had seen this person in the New World bounty offering a reward of over 100 million. But it seems that because it has been stable for too long, the opponent has no combat power that can match this strength. But for Murphy, this is not a big deal. Although the reward is high, it is an unknown character after all, and there is no way to provide him with too much experience. His goal is World Destroyer Waldo on this island. As for the others, after he finishes dealing with Waldo, he will naturally deal with them together. Although he doesn't give much experience, an island is full of pirates. Solving them may also bring a lot of experience points. As for that World Destroyer guy. Advertisement, boss, we're back, how is that guy? Do you want us to help? As soon as they walked to the door, around a corner, the 20 or so pirates hurried over and wanted to inquire about the situation. When they saw that Murphy was safe and ready to leave, the group of people were stunned for a moment. Second. Then look inside. I saw a man lying in a very conspicuous pool of blood in the originally clean and tidy hotel. Boss. After seeing the familiar figure, the gang of pirates exclaimed directly. Just deal with you pirates as well. Murphy gradually raised his hand. Open black lens bracket Hotto. 67 thunderbolts close black lens bracket voice down. A thunder blasted directly from Murphy's hand, instantly causing the electrified bodies of more than 20 pirates in front of them to explode. Perhaps none of them expected that what they originally regarded as a piece of fat would turn around and transform into a wolf, eating up all of them. After leaving the hotel, Murphy walked in this special city and found it extremely interesting. Of course, no one else needs to say what a place completely controlled by pirates would be like. Walking on the street, it can be said that there is almost no good person here, not even a guy who looks like a good person. Advertisement and Murphy's appearance naturally attracted the attention of many people. It seemed that many people knew about the fact that he was brought into the hotel just now. Being able to come out of that place alive was enough to prove that Murphy's strength was not bad, so no one dared to come up to provoke him until now. The big pirate with a reward of 300 million is not such a simple character. No matter what the situation is, at least Murphy is not something most of the pirates here can provoke. Everyone present knew this very well. Either Murphy has the strength to walk out from that place, or the other party is still the prey he is looking for, and if he wants to snatch the prey from others, it will not work if he has no strength. Of course, there is another reason why it is so quiet here now. That is World Destroyer Waldo. The powerful World Destroyer Waldo will destroy warships, civilians, and even pirates. Coupled with Waldo's powerful hockey and powerful devil fruit ability, there is almost no one who is his opponent except the 3 big pirates. The same is true on this island. He didn't come to this place to control it, but simply to snatch things. Under such circumstances, naturally, no one dared to stir up disputes at will to attract Waldo's attention. Anyway, Waldo will leave by himself after a while, and there is no need for them to take risks. As for ruling this island, it is naturally impossible for Waldo to do such a thankless thing. There are so many pirates on this island, let alone trying to subdue these people is a big problem, and once so many pirates are integrated pirates, then they will definitely become a huge target for Marine. Advertisement now Marine's influence on the entire sea can be said to be quite strong. Without the strength like the 3 big pirates, it is simply impossible to lead the island. The Golden Lion is no target for Marines in the air, and Whitebeard's shock fruit is a natural disaster in naval battles. Didn't you see that the Roger pirates, although not weaker than Golden Lion and Whitebeard, were hunted down by Marine because they didn't have the ability to avoid Marine? And him? Although Momo Fruit's ability is not weak in naval battles, his own strength is still far from the 3 big pirates. Even if he controls the island, he cannot hold it. Therefore, for Waldo, what he needs is to maximize the resources of this island before leaving. Captain, we went to grab another batch of pirates' stuff. In a tavern in the central square, a subordinate brought a large bag of gold and silver treasures to Waldo to report the situation. Good job. Take advantage of these 2 days to grab some more, and then we have to leave here. Then find a city and have a good time. Hearing the report from his subordinates, Waldo also spoke very grandly. In this period, he has not been betrayed by his subordinates, so naturally he needs some methods of win over. Chapter 32. Waldo's solicitation. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. Chapter 32. Waldo's solicitation. Pirates are very simple. Most of them are because they don't want to work hard day after day in exchange for rewards. Compared with such boring days, they prefer exciting and free ways of killing and plundering. You can squeeze other people's wealth for many years by getting something for nothing, and then squander like a noble. Although it may be at the cost of their own lives, most people enjoy this process. So for his subordinates, Waldo only needs to distribute part of the stolen money. Of course, As for why he didn't go out to snatch it, the reason is also very simple. Although he is considered to be the strongest on this island, if he plunders too crazy, it is likely to arouse the hostility of other pirates. Pirates unite with others, even he will feel very uncomfortable. So he has always asked his subordinates to rob, so that those powerful pirates would not be threatened, and naturally there would be no risk of being crusaded. After waiting for 2 days, Waldo also planned to leave here. After all, if you stay here all the time, you will be attacked by the crowd sooner or later. But at this moment when Waldo was thinking about when to retreat, suddenly his fighting instinct and observation haki felt a very dangerous aura at the same time. Without thinking too much, and without worrying about his own image, Waldo rolled to the ground without saying a word. In the next second, a huge sword energy formed by a blue Ryotsu directly swept across Waldo's position, cutting the entire tavern in half. Oh, did you dodge it? Sure enough, observation haki is still very useful. Seeing that Waldo dodged his own slash, Murphy also slowly walked in from the outside. You bastard! But the moment Waldo opened his mouth, a sword swept in his direction again. Advertisement: Momo 10 times faster. Valder's speed is extremely fast, and even the shave in Marine 6 styles is far behind. This is the ability of the Momo fruit, which can magnify the speed and the volume of the object at a certain speed. Go to hell, boy! Haki's fists wrapped around him blatantly. However, Shunpo is not such a simple pace of shaving. The moment Waldo swung his fist down, Murphy's figure disappeared in place. What speed is this? Seeing Murphy's sudden disappearance, Waldo's pupils suddenly became dilated. But then, he immediately calmed down. Although Murphy's speed is extremely fast, his Momo fruit still has room for improvement. Behind. At this time, Waldo suddenly sensed the aura behind him, and punched directly to the back. Boom! Waldo punched down with all his strength, and at this time Murphy also opened his palm. The fist and the palm collided directly, and with the two of them as the center, a terrifying shock wave spread out to the surroundings, setting off waves of chaos. Advertisement: Hato's 31 red cannon. In an instant, a strong fireball gathered in Murphy's palm. Zero distance impact. Seeing this scene, Waldo's eyes widened. Even if he was facing a zero-distance impact, he couldn't dodge immediately. Boom! Before he could take any action, the high-speed fireball blasted directly towards Waldo's fist. A huge and incomparable force directly shook Waldo's fist away. Being hit by Kido at zero distance, even with the protection of armament haki, Waldo was quite uncomfortable. The fist he swung just now has been completely burned through the skin, and the bones under the skin can be clearly seen, which is quite terrifying, like a torn chicken claw. Not only that, the impact just now almost shattered the bones of Waldo's shoulders. However, Waldo is also a ruthless person. If an ordinary person was beaten like this, he would probably be kneeling on the ground and crying for his father and mother by now. As if Waldo was not afraid of pain at all, he directly tore his shirt and quickly gave his right hand to him. Hug up. Very good will to fight. Seeing this scene, even Murphy couldn't help but praise the other party. Not only does he have the slashing ability of a great swordsman, but also has such a strange ability? Looking at his arm, Waldo could feel the terrible pressure coming from Murphy. The slash of the great swordsman, and the attack method that can directly break through the direct armament haki. Advertisement: at this time, Waldo realized that this elegant-looking young man in white robes in front of him was not simple, and if he attacked at will, it would only lead to destruction. Although Waldo attacked everything like a mad dog, it didn't mean he was a fool. Facing an opponent stronger than himself, it was impossible for Waldo to provoke him. Otherwise, why has never heard of Waldo's trouble with the 3 big pirates? And now, through just 2 short fights, Waldo already has a rough judgment on Murphy's strength in his heart, and he is a level stronger than him. Only, with this kind of strength at such a young age, if you want us to join forces together, there will definitely be a place for us after the 3 great pirates in the future. That's right, at this time, Waldo directly wanted to recruit. As the pirate second only to the 3 great pirates, Waldo is naturally quite ambitious. However, Waldo didn't seem to know that Murphy was a Marine, since the news in New World had spread widely. However, with Waldo's lunatic personality, he probably doesn't have many friends, and he probably doesn't know much about the information in New World. Most of the information is obtained from Newsbird. Is that so? It looks like you don't even know what I am. With such an attitude, why are you talking about joining a group? Chapter 33 Fierce Battle Previous Chapter Next Chapter. Advertisement Chapter 33 Fierce Battle. Murphy smiled slightly, his flat eyes couldn't tell what he thought of Waldo's proposal. What? Is that kind of thing important? I only value your strength and talent. You look like I'm a match for you before you're 20 years old. As long as we join forces, no one in the whole sea can stop us? Even the Marines can't keep up with us? There was a look of pride in Waldo's eyes. Although he was not as good as the three big pirates, his strength could be regarded as the top group of New World pirates. Coupled with the powerful destructive power of the Momo fruit, even Marine dare not do anything to him at will. It can be said that as long as he does not commit suicide, there is no place in this sea that he cannot go to. With the help of Murphy, it is indeed almost invincible. But the crux of the matter is, Murphy doesn't need a mere pirate to help. Did you know? Eagles don't flock with sparrows. It's been like this since ancient times, Murphy replied flatly. As for whether Waldo can understand it or not, it has nothing to do with Murphy, but Murphy's next actions must definitely allow Waldo to clearly understand what kind of attitude Murphy is. In other words, the strong don't want to be with the weak. Weak? Hearing this comment, Waldo's eyes immediately overflowed with murderous intent. For him, this word is absolutely not allowed to appear on himself. He is a guy with extreme self-esteem and even has been pursued to the point of pathology, and it is precisely because of this that he is so eager to show his strength, attacking everything crazily, no matter if it is a Marine or a civilian. Advertisement. It seems that as long as you kill enough people, you won't be regarded as weak by others. Momo hundredfold slash. Suddenly Waldo pulled out a knife from his waist, and then it grew in size. A knife that was only 1 meter in size instantly became countless times bigger, and even the sky became pitch black. The gigantic knife slammed directly in Murphy's direction. Boring attack. He commented lightly, but Murphy's figure disappeared directly, and then moved behind Waldo. However, Waldo's physical skills are not weak, and he has mastered the two-color hockey in a large number, so he clearly found Murphy's position. However, being able to know and respond to it is another concept. Hado's 73 pairs of Lotus Blue Fire Pendant. Murphy didn't hesitate at all, and the extremely powerful flames shot out directly, aiming directly at Waldo's back. It's that kind of strange pace again. This kid's combat experience is very unusual. Waldo was amazed in his heart. Murphy's fighting style was so sophisticated. Don't show off this kind of clumsy attack in front of me. It will only make you lose faster. Murphy's gaze was still heavy and stable, as if everything was under control. But it was Murphy's appearance that made him feel quite unhappy. Advertisement. Boy, don't underestimate me. Waldo was completely irritated, and he really couldn't afford to lose this person when he was treated with such an attitude. Momo 100 times speed. Waldo thought silently, and directly pushed the speed of Momo fruit to the fastest point. Within Waldo's field of vision, everything in the whole world seems to have slowed down. With the blessing of 100 times the speed, his speed has completely surpassed the level that humans can directly observe. However, the superimposed perception ability of Murphy's probing nerve and observation hockey is not just for fun. There is almost nothing under Ultimate's observation hockey that can escape his perception range. But in the face of Waldo's speed point increased by 100 times, to be honest, he can only be forced to defend. You must know that Waldo is not only a pervert with devil fruit ability, but also a proficient master of two-color hockey and powerful body skills. Coupled with the blessing of devil fruit's ability, the whole person launched an offensive against Murphy like a phantom. Boom. 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 Waldo punched Murphy from all directions, and after each punch, Waldo switched directions and immediately avoided direct contact with Murphy. It seems that the zero-range red artillery shot just now gave Waldo a lot of shadow in his heart. Although it is only a Kido in the 30s, the strength of Kido depends mostly on the strength of the user's Ryatsu. So Waldo didn't dare to give Murphy a second chance like this. Advertisement. And under this high-speed attack, Murphy seemed to have no good solution other than resistance. The Momo fruit is indeed a very powerful devil fruit. While constantly meeting Waldo's offensive, Murphy also took the time to tease the other party. Although the initiative is now in Waldo's hands, Murphy is not in a hurry. 100 times speed is already the limit of what Waldo can use. In this case, wanting to use this ability continuously will inevitably cause great consumption to Waldo himself. And he only needs to simply block Valder's attack with the Zanpakuto in his hand. And when Waldo's physical strength dropped a little and he couldn't hold on, it was his chance to fight back. About 10 minutes later, after 10 minutes of continuous high-intensity attacks, Waldo also began to pant, while Murphy, who had been defending all the time, was as usual, and it could even be said that he had almost no physical exertion. No. You have to save your energy. Waldo also felt that the continuous attack with the highest emphasis was too much to bear, and he had to relax a little bit so that his body could adjust before he could continue fighting for a long time. So he quickly exited the 100 times acceleration mode, wanting to take the opportunity to save some energy. Hado number 4 White Thunder, 15% Chapter 34th, Senju's Bright Sky Elimination Cannon. Previous chapter Next chapter Advertisement Chapter 34th, Senju's Bright Sky Elimination Cannon. Whoosh! A white thunder aimed at Waldo at an extremely fast speed. In a breathless time, Lei Guang directly arrived in front of Waldo. But the next second, as if he had expected it a long time ago, Valder immediately crossed his hands in front of him, and the dark armament hockey directly covered his hands. Naive. Could it be that I didn't know you would take this opportunity to sneak attack? Waldo said with some disdain. How could he fail to see through such an easy-to-understand strategy, and directly launched a surprise attack when the enemy slowed down. After defending for more than 10 minutes in a row, no one would have expected a sudden counterattack at this time. But the experienced Waldo was naturally prepared in advance. But, can the old experience still have Murphy's experience? Really? So what about this trick? The gap between the thundering carriage and the spinning wheel. This thing has light in one part. Bakudo's 61-6 stick light prison. Advertisement at the same time that Waldo was resisting by Lei, the 6 pads light sheets flew towards Waldo's body at the same time, directly trapping him firmly. What the hell is this? Seeing the light sheet flying over to grab him, Valder wanted to use armament hockey to break free. But how could Murphy's Bakudo be so easily broken? Even World Destroyer Waldo, using hockey, will not be able to break free for a while. Since we don't know how resistant armament hockey is to Bakudo, it's better to add an insurance policy. Seeing Waldo struggling, Murphy said with a smile. It is also the first time he has used Bakudo to restrain a powerhouse of this level. Whether Valder's armament hockey can break free from his Bakudo is also a question. Therefore, Murphy also planned to add another Bakudo to prevent Waldo from breaking free directly with his strength. The wall of iron sand, the monk-shaped tower, burning iron yin-yang because of its determination, it is silent. Bakudo's 75-5 pillar iron gun. Voiced down 5 huge iron pillars fell directly from the sky, and slammed into Waldo's head and limbs. Coupled with the restraint of the 6 stick light prison, Waldo was completely immobilized. Damn it. This guy's ability is so strange, it's that piece of light in this iron pillar again. Waldo, who was firmly suppressed, wanted to raise his head with some difficulty, but the extremely heavy iron pillar around his neck completely suppressed him. Although these things don't seem to be very threatening, Waldo can feel a special force trapping him firmly, making him unable to move. This made him feel quite dangerous. Even with armament hockey for defense, he felt a sense of powerlessness. That's it. Advertisement. In the past of Senju, the venerable hand that cannot touch the darkness, the archer of the sky that cannot be reflected, the road where the brilliance falls, and the wind that ignites the fire, there is no need to be confused when you gather, just follow my instructions. The distant and long chant sounded again, although it is said that Kido has been baptized twice, but those 2 times were Bakudo. But this time, although he didn't know what the situation was, he could clearly feel that the situation this time might be quite difficult. Light bullets, 8 bodies, 9 articles, heavenly scriptures, disease treasures, big wheels, gray turrets, bows to the distance, and dissipates away brightly. When the chant was coming to an end, Murphy's hands had gathered into a huge halo of light. Damn. It would be bad if that thing hits. Seeing the aperture in Murphy's hand, Waldo was also anxious. Although he said he had never encountered such a situation before, he could be sure that the thing in Murphy's hand was quite dangerous, and if he hit it, it would most likely kill him directly. Unfortunately, bound by the double Bakudo, he has no room to resist. Hado's 91 Senju Jiao Tien Duan Pao. Boom, 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 boom. Countless lines of light flew directly towards Waldo, and the sound of explosions reverberated the entire island, but everything within Murphy's field of vision was attacked by the Senju cannon. Not to mention 1 or 2 buildings, even the ground was thoroughly washed. And Waldo, who was suppressed by the double Bakudo, had no ability to resist. Sting. Poof. Advertisement. Countless light beams penetrated Waldo's body, and a large amount of blood splashed out from Waldo's body. For a moment, Waldo's whole body showed a mixture of light holes and blood. Even the flesh in many places fell off in pieces, and the skin became blurred and completely inhuman. But even so, Waldo didn't intend to show an embarrassing look like the others. He was quite clear in his heart that begging the enemy for mercy at this juncture would be useless at all. So he didn't intend to beg for mercy like a bereaved dog. "You regret it, kid? Lousy will take you with him even if he dies." Seeing that the attack just now shattered the restraints on his body, Waldo's expression also became more ferocious. There is nothing good about him now, but relying on his strong strength and vitality to hold on, it is already impossible to survive. That being the case, he at least wants to drag Murphy into hell together. "Little devil. Let me show you why Lousy is called the World Destroyer." Waldo roared angrily, and now every word he speaks is consuming a small number of lives. However, even though his life was like a dying candle in the wind, Waldo's aura was still impressive. Has the light come back? But so what? Seeing Waldo's crazy look, Murphy still had an unhurried attitude. Chapter 35 Black Coffin. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. Chapter 35 Black Coffin. He has nothing to fear from World Destroyer in his heyday, let alone the guy who is already like a dying candle. Let's be buried with Lousy. Brat. Waldo suddenly raised the knife at his waist, and slammed his feet down, shouting almost hysterically, "Momo fruit 100 times slash." The big knife like a giant inflated rapidly, and quickly slammed down in the direction of Murphy. This time, the Momo fruit not only magnified the weapon and slash in his hand by 100 times, even the speed was also magnified 100 times. This is Waldo's last trick, to directly magnify everything by 100 times to obtain the power of the original slashing with himself 10,000 times. Although Waldo is not a great swordsman, and his level of swordsmanship is not very good at all, but relying on this powerful devil fruit power and his own not weak physical skills, Waldo can completely perform far beyond compared with the destructive power of ordinary great swordsmen. See, Lousy is a world destroyer. Only the weak will use yelling to prove their strength. Facing the gigantic giant sword, Murphy's expression did not change a bit. That's right, Waldo's attack is indeed very destructive, and the speed is also very fast. But, advertisement, wouldn't it be enough to just aim at the person and attack? At this time, Waldo has fully activated Devil Fruit's ability, and Schwang's also has to hold the big knife in his hand. For Murphy, he is just a puppet at his disposal. It's over. Hado no 90 Black Coffin. A black barrier immediately rose under Waldo's feet, covering Waldo's whole body in an instant. First, his whole body was severely injured, and then he used such a powerful move. At this time, Waldo had no ability to move at all. It can only be completely wrapped up by Black Coffin. Immediately afterwards, countless black Ryotsu blades within the Black Coffin aimed directly at Waldo, and crazily penetrated into it, and the black torrent of gravity directly smashed Waldo inside completely. Hum. Wait until the Black Coffin is gone. At this moment, nothing inside had disappeared, and Waldo was completely shattered into tiny details that he couldn't even see. Defeat the great pirate world destroyer Waldo. The template has been unlocked to 12.8%. With the system beeping, Murphy was 100% sure that Waldo was completely dead. Advertisement and the level of unlocking the system template has also increased by 2.8% to such a high level that it is almost close to the level of improvement when I just broke through to the great swordsman. Waldo, who is not strong enough and is still a supporting role, can provide me with so much experience. It's hard to imagine how valuable Roger is. Although Murphy had anticipated that Waldo was worth a lot, he was still taken aback by the sudden unlocking of the 2.8% template level. Who is Waldo? Although it is said to be the boss in the theatrical version, its strength is definitely not as good as that of Roger and others. In addition, its reputation is not particularly high, and it can provide a 2.8% unlocking level. If it were Roger Golden Lion and the others who were defeated instead, I'm afraid they could directly bring him 5% or more experience. Roger, Golden Lion, Whitebeard, Garp, Zephyr, Sengoku, Red Earl, Kong and the future 4 emperors and 3 admirals. These admiral-level people alone may bring him more than 70% of the template unlocking level. Of course, and this is a fairly simple matter for Murphy, as long as he defeats the first admiral level, then he can unlock more templates, and then defeating the second will become extraordinarily easy. Once he sets foot on this path, he will be able to improve rapidly at the fastest speed. Of course, he doesn't have to think about so many things now, he just needs to think about the things in front of him. Will releasing so many high-level Kido in succession still have no effect? After seeing Waldo die, Murphy also began to check his physical condition. The high-level Kido who broke out so many times in a row, even 2 Kido who were above the number 90, still didn't feel a trace of fatigue. It can even be said to be quite easy. Advertisement. If that's the case, it looks like that move should be easy to use, Murphy thought secretly in his heart. If successful, then the next thing will become a lot easier. It is still very troublesome to clean up the pirates on the entire island at once. Although Murphy has many powerful Kido, it is almost impossible to destroy an island with one blow before the strength has reached that level. However, with the current strength, more than 90% of the pirates on this island will die under my Ryotsu in an instant. It will take a little time to solve this. You must know that when he was in the Roger Pirates, the strength Murphy showed was enough to deal with everyone below the cadres of the Roger Pirates. Now that the strength has skyrocketed again, relying on Ryotsu alone, I am afraid that only the captains of the more powerful pirates on this island can resist his Ryotsu. But even Ryotsu, who can resist him, is probably just a one-shot kill in front of Murphy. After all, judging from the previous situation, that guy with 300 million people can do his best on this island, and there are probably not many people who can be stronger than that guy. As for physical strength, Murphy also discovered through the battle just now that Shinigami's continuous combat power is quite terrifying, or Aizen's Ryotsu is too terrifying. Even the unscrupulous use of high-level Kido has no effect at all. Chapter 36 All solved. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. Chapter 36 All solved. Time passed quickly. A month later. Sin City coast. Boom. A soft sound. A large package landed directly on the deck. Murphy's final work stay on the island was over when he dropped the last bag of Baileys on board a large boat. Looking back, at this time, the entire city of Sin has clearly revealed an extremely desolate appearance. It's really tiring. Looking at the treasures that filled a big boat, Murphy was also a little horrified. It took him a whole month to clean up all the pirates on the entire island and bring out all the valuable things inside. At the same time, his system template unlocking level has also broken through to 14.1%. Although it is not worth mentioning compared to the experience value brought by Waldo, it is still a very good account. Advertisement. Moreover, the small sloop he had just arrived here had been replaced directly. That ship couldn't hold so much treasure at all, so Murphy randomly snatched a big ship beside it. And a large pirate ship that can accommodate 500 people has just been filled with those treasures. One can imagine how much money these pirates robbed. However, it seems that the remaining things on this island need to be dealt with a little bit. Murphy doesn't have that much free time to bury so many pirates one by one, so the current situation is that the whole island is now covered with black blood and corpses, and some are even rotting away. If so many corpses are not dealt with, it is easy to cause trouble, such as plague and the like. Thinking of this, Murphy took out the phone bug he was using to contact Garp and called directly. Vice Admiral Garp, everyone here in the city of Sin has been dealt with, but the corpse is troublesome. Please send some marines to come. Let's tidy up. What? Everything has been resolved. Hearing this sentence, Garp, who was sitting in the office leisurely drinking tea with his legs crossed, squirted the tea out of his mouth. The whole city of Sin has been solved. What a joke. You have to know where there are countless pirates with a bounty of hundreds of millions, and there are also quite a few monsters with a reward of 200 to 300 million. Recently, a world destroyer came, although the temporary reward was only 200 million, but his strength was only below the 3 big pirates. Such a terrifying island was completely destroyed by Murphy in just 1 month. To be honest, Garp is a little bit unbelievable. Among other things, just World Destroyer. Even after defeating World Destroyer, Garp thinks that Murphy needs at least half a month to rest, plus the time for fighting and going to sea. It can be solved within a month. World Destroyer and ready to start attacking other people. Garp felt that it was already very powerful. And now, Murphy not only defeated the World Destroyer, but also eliminated tens of thousands of pirates on the entire island. Advertisement. Garp couldn't believe it and asked, "Murphy boy, could it be your strength?" Before going to sea, he had just broken through the realm of the great swordsman, and he hadn't even had time to stabilize this realm. Could it be that within a month of going to New World, Murphy's strength had another breakthrough? This speed of progress is too fast. Even Garp had to admit that the other party's talent was a bit too terrifying. It was only less than a year since he came to New World, and Murphy was already 10 times stronger than before. Although it is true that New World has such an effect, it also requires a process, and the improvement rate cannot be so huge. "Yeah, it's really a good thing here," Murphy replied with a gentle tone, as if it wasn't a big deal. At the same time, there was a touch of confidence in his own strength in his voice. Although it is impossible to see Murphy's appearance and facial expressions, he can feel the affirmation and confidence in his own strength under Murphy's gentle tone after dealing with various powerful monsters for many years. Could it be possible that this kid can possess Admiral's strength before the age of 20? If he reaches his peak around the age of 40, then his strength. Thinking of this, Garp didn't dare to think about it anymore. 20-year-old Marine Admiral, this can be said to have never happened in history. Even the former him is far behind, and the most frightening thing is not only Murphy's age, but also Murphy's growth rate. Of course, Garp just whispered these words in his heart, and didn't say them directly. Advertisement, Vice Admiral Garp. What I told you. Hearing the silence on the other side, Murphy asked a little strangely. Things? What things? Hearing Murphy's reminder, Garp suddenly woke up, and asked in a strange way. Just now all his thoughts were on the issue of Murphy's strength, and he didn't pay attention to what exactly Murphy said. "It's about the corpses on the island. It's not appropriate to keep them there." Vice Admiral Garp hastened to ask the nearby Marine branch to deal with these problems. Hearing this situation, Murphy explained again helplessly. Oh, I see. I will notify the nearby branch to deal with it." "Murphy, what are you going to do now?" Garp also replied immediately. "This is nothing more than a trivial matter. He just made a phone call, can be solved directly." It's just that Garp became a little curious about Murphy's next move. "With such a big thing happening, I'm afraid I won't be able to stay in New World alone. I'll deal with some problems first, and then I'll go back to the branch." Chapter 37. Whitebeard sees previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. Chapter 37. Whitebeard sees. Naturally, what he had to deal with was the treasures on this ship. It was naturally impossible for Murphy to hand over all of this wealth to Marine directly. He needs to deal with this property a little bit. As for New World, he may not be able to stay any longer now. The news of his identity from the Roger Pirates has made it even more difficult for him to walk in New World. Now that the entire Sin City has been destroyed, I'm afraid the news has already spread throughout New World. Now he is the public enemy of all the pirates in New World, and he has also provoked the forces attached to Whitebeard and Golden Lion. If the current Murphy continues to walk around in New World at will, I am afraid that he will really sink into the sea. Of course, Murphy doesn't know what will become of him, who has become a Shinigami, when his body dies, whether it will dissipate together with his soul, or completely become a life form with a very high concentration of spiritual particles, becoming a true Shinigami. But he still didn't intend to try it if possible. 10 days later, clear blue sky without a single cloud. In a place as hostile as the New World, days of exhilaration are rare. Crash lala. Clap lala. The breeze blows, the sea ripples. Advertisement. The huge sailboat is breaking through the waves, driving gently in this sea area. Above deck, Murphy is holding a map in his hand, looking at the endless sea in front of him. Ever since he left Sin City, he has been thinking about this place called Charles Island. The reason is also very simple, because this place is the largest underground trading market in the entire New World. As long as you can offer something of value, they dare to accept it. Whether it is pirates, ordinary people, pirate hunters, merchants, princes and nobles, even marines. That's the most important reason why Murphy is here. And the process along the way was quite smooth, except for some short-sighted guys. Murphy hardly encountered any troublesome weather or troublesome opponents. As for those unknown and weak pirates who wanted to treat him as a fat sheep, basically even his Ryotsu couldn't bear it, and disappeared into this world directly. Murphy didn't even bother to remember the name of this kind of trash fish that was too weak, and he didn't even bother to take the things on the opponent's boat. After all, his boat was completely stuffed with all kinds of valuable things. Of course, Murphy was a little surprised by how smooth the journey was. After all, he had already caused such a big sensation in New World, but no one came to find fault. But it's normal to think about it. How big is New World? It can be said that it is unimaginable, and it is almost impossible to find someone in this sea. Advertisement. What's more, 99% of people don't have the ability to trouble him. Even World Destroyer Waldo died in his hands, so naturally no one dared to shoot Murphy casually. After all, what happened in the whole City of Sin is still vivid in his mind. However, Murphy also heard Garp these days that someone led the establishment of a pirate group to attack him, and wanted to use his head to directly become famous in the sea. Of course, Murphy just smiled at that. The number of people is meaningless to him. Even a pirate with a bounty of over 100 million will be unable to move in front of his Ryotsu. His Ryotsu is not the ability of Conqueror's Haki that can only clear mobs. Even powerful pirates can be easily deterred. Unless the strength is close to or stronger than Murphy, the number of people is meaningless in front of him. I'm afraid the other party simply wants to use this name to gather a wave of influence. Shaking his head, he threw out all the strange things in his mind. But it's still a bit of trouble here. Whitebeard's place? Looking at Charles Island not far away, the place where this island is located is the land occupied by one of the few Whitebeards in New World. Moreover, the forces under the Whitebeard pirate group will also be active in this sea area. Once he lands on the island, then Whitebeard will definitely know about it. Sure enough, should we visit the Moby Dick first? Advertisement. Putting away the map in his hand, Murphy thought silently in his heart. Now that he has decided to come here, instead of being approached by the Whitebeard pirates at that time, he might as well go to the Whitebeard pirates to visit them first. After determining the target, Murphy quickly put away the map in his hand, and then drove the boat towards the sea ahead. It didn't take long for Murphy to arrive directly at Charles Island, and it could be regarded as officially stepping into the domain ruled by Whitebeard. It seems that the Whitebeard pirates are not here, only some of the pirates under their banner. Let's change things first. After casual observation, Murphy did not find the existence of the main ship Moby Dick of the Whitebeard pirates, but this is also normal. After all, the territory owned by the Whitebeard pirates is not just a little bit, only some pirates under it. It's normal to stay here. But what Murphy didn't know was that the Whitebeard pirates were also coming here, but compared to Murphy, the Whitebeard pirates were just a step behind. Soon, Murphy walked in the direction of a flag with a white skull and a white crescent mustache curling up from its mouth. Yes, this is the logo of the Whitebeard pirates. In this underground trading market, the prestige of the Whitebeard pirates is self-evident, so if the flag of the Whitebeard pirates is hung, then the business is naturally guaranteed. And this place is the largest trading place on the island, and it is also the goal of Murphy's visit this time. Chapter 38 Transactions. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. Chapter 38 Transactions. It looks like this is here. After taking a look, Murphy walked in directly. Although it is indeed Whitebeard's flag, this place is indeed known for daring to accept anything, even if it is Marine's stuff, so Murphy doesn't have to worry about the grievances between himself and the Whitebeard pirates. As soon as Murphy walked into the store, many eyes immediately fell on him. After all, he has been famous in New World twice in a row, and his appearance has long been famous in New World, not only among pirates, but also among pirate hunters and other well-informed people. It seems that I'm not very welcome here. As soon as he walked in, Murphy noticed the eyes around him. Some were vigilant, some were curious, and some were murderous. However, Murphy didn't pay attention to these gazes. Instead, he found a place and sat down casually, then looked in the direction of the boss and asked, "Boss, are you planning to trade with the guy who has a grudge against Whitebeard?" Murphy looked at the boss in front of him, and asked in an extremely gentle tone. Seeing Murphy's appearance, many people were quite surprised. Hearing that Murphy had stirred up such a big disturbance in New World, they originally thought that the other party would be a rather vicious existence. Advertisement, but in reality, the other party is not like that. On the contrary, he looks like an amiable and gentle gentleman, and even exaggerates a little bit to make people feel like a good old man. Such a person would slaughter so many pirates, and in such a short period of time, almost no one present could believe it. Of course it's impossible. Our principle here is to trade regardless of who the other party is. Even if my father-killing enemy comes, we have to wait until the deal is over and the other party leaves the island. The boss replied with a silent smile. Road. This is why he is famous here, let alone Whitebeard's enemy. Even if his father-killing enemy comes, he will wait for the other party to leave the island before hunting down. But immediately after the conversation changed, the boss asked very curiously, but to be honest, I have never seen someone who killed Whitebeard's man and dared to enter Whitebeard's sight, and it's still a Marine. Speaking of which, the boss is even more curious about Murphy. I won't bother you, manager, about the matter between me and Whitebeard. I will visit the Moby Dick myself. After all, I have stepped into someone else's territory, and I can't justify not visiting the owner's house. Murphy replied with a smile. What? Upon hearing Murphy's words, many people's faces changed, and some looked in Murphy's direction in disbelief. Visiting Whitebeard? Just kidding. That is the most powerful big pirate right now. Although there are people who have absolutely no hatred against Whitebeard in this sea, there are definitely not many. And how big is the ocean that Whitebeard owns? Advertisement. In New World, apart from the territories of the Marine and World Government franchise countries, the Whitebeard pirates own at least 1/5 of the chassis, and many of the remaining places are deserted islands that are almost impossible to land on or have not been developed at all. Whitebeard occupies at least 1/3 of the area where the pirates actually operate. Among them, the pirates who are forced to step into the Whitebeard sea area, especially those pirates who have enemies with the Whitebeard pirate group, basically hide from the Whitebeard pirate group. After all, the territory of the Whitebeard pirates is too large, and it is impossible for Whitebeard himself to run around all day long, so he usually hides his identity. As long as the Whitebeard pirates do not know, things usually end like this. This is the simplest and most direct method. After all, there are so many people, and Whitebeard can't take care of it. Basically, he just turns a blind eye to deal with it. Naturally, it is impossible for anyone to take the initiative to visit Whitebeard on the Moby Dick. That's interesting. But what you plan to do has nothing to do with me. Where is the thing you want to trade? After a short period of shock, the store manager also quickly realized that although this matter sounds scary, it has nothing to do with him. He is just a gray businessman. Everything is on the boat at the port, and it will be sold to you together with the boat. You can find someone to count it yourself. By the way, just prepare me a glass of milk with ice. After speaking to the store manager, Murphy walked directly to the front desk. I asked the waitress at the front desk for a glass of milk. If it was placed in other places, they would have started to laugh when they heard Murphy asking for milk, and some people had even stepped forward to make trouble. However, none of the people present are idiots, so is it asking for trouble? That was looking for death. As for what other people wanted to drink, they didn't dare to interfere. Advertisement. The waitress standing at the front desk seemed to be startled by Murphy just saying that he was going to visit Whitebeard's Moby Dick, and she still hasn't recovered. It wasn't until Murphy came up to her to ask her to get something that she reacted immediately, then took a glass of milk and put ice cubes in it and handed it to Murphy. Thank you. Pushing the square-rimmed glasses on the bridge of his nose, Murphy smiled lightly and took the milk from the other party's hand. It's not like Murphy can't drink, but the stuff just clouded his brain. At the same time, the waitress at the front desk looked at Murphy with very curious eyes. Dressed in clean and simple white clothes, with gentle corners of his mouth, soft eyes, and a handsome face, the young man gave off a very comfortable feeling. If he didn't know the news in advance, he really couldn't believe that the boy in front of him was the terrifying existence that slaughtered the pirates on the entire island. Or, even now, she still can't believe it. Chapter 39. Meeting the Whitebeard Pirates. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. Chapter 39. Meeting the Whitebeard Pirates. The waitress lying on the front desk blushed involuntarily. So hot, and so gentle, it's my type. After just one meeting, the waitress was completely smitten with Murphy, and it was love at first sight. Of course, in layman's terms it means, greedy, the other side. Soon the store manager had already counted the treasures on board and made accurate calculations. However, at this moment, suddenly from the end of the coastline ahead, a flag gradually enlarged in front of him. People who live near the sea naturally know that this is a sign that a ship is coming. And this side of temperament is really familiar to the surrounding store managers. On the high-hanging pirate flag, there is a crescent-shaped skull. Others may not recognize this flag, but it is absolutely impossible for him not to recognize it. Advertisement. The reason is simple, because this flag itself is the flag that protects his shop, the flag of the Whitebeard pirates. Of course, it would be fine if it was the pirate group flying the Whitebeard flag, but this is not the case. The one flying the Whitebeard flag in front of it is not some other pirate group, but the main ship of the Whitebeard pirate group, Moby Dick. In other words, Whitebeard himself was on board the ship in front of him at this moment. Whitebeard pirates? I didn't expect it to be such a coincidence, or is the other party already targeting me? At this moment, Murphy walked out of the store and walked to this place without knowing when. Compared with seeing with eyes, Murphy pays more attention to his own sensory nerves and observation hockey. Although his observation hockey is not as good as those special abilities that can predict the future, the range of perception is extremely huge. Perhaps this is Murphy's talent on observation hockey. Shinigami's sensory nerves combined with observation hockey's sensory ability. Murphy's sensory range is stronger than that of Enel, who used the Thunder Fruit and observation hockey to explore the entire Sky Island in the original book. Murphy can not only perceive the situation within an entire island, but can even extend out to a distance of 10 nautical miles. It is precisely because of this that Murphy left the store and arrived at the coast ahead of time to visit Whitebeard on the Moby Dick. Hey, aren't you joking, but are you really going to visit Whitebeard? Seeing Murphy's appearance, the store manager's eyes widened in disbelief. He originally thought that Murphy was just talking about it. After all, no one would know his whereabouts after leaving here, and even if he didn't visit Whitebeard himself, I'm afraid no one would say much. After all, it's Whitebeard, you know. Isn't this a very simple and easy to understand thing? Murphy asked the store manager so rhetorically. Then he walked directly to a small wooden boat next to him. Advertisement. Then directly use Ryotsu to push the wooden boat to start heading towards Moby Dick. Brother, although we never swallow other people's money here, there is nothing we can do if the person dies. Are you sure you want to do this? The store manager was still a little worried. As Whitebeard's enemy, and also a Marine, no one in the room felt that Murphy would be able to leave Whitebeard's ship alive. After all, as long as your hands are stained with the blood of Whitebeard's sons, it already means that you and Whitebeard will never die. I won't bother you, manager, to worry about this matter, and I won't die here, Murphy responded lightly. As for death, sorry, he has no such plans now. Interesting. Are you sure you can retreat even in the face of the Whitebeard pirates? Seeing this, the store manager also narrowed his eyes. He doesn't think Murphy is looking for death by himself. Can a fool kill so many pirates in the entire city of Sin? Those were tens of thousands of pirates, all of them were slaughtered within a month. Whitebeard pirates, I've wanted to meet them for a long time. The biggest ruler of this new world outside of Marine. Murphy witnessed the approaching pirate ship in front of him. The flag of the pirate ship can be seen from the store manager just now, which is enough to show that the Whitebeard pirate group is not far from here. In the blink of an eye, a small wooden boat so small that it could be ignored finally collided with the Moby Dick. And standing on the small wooden boat, Murphy couldn't see the whole Moby Dick even if he looked up. Advertisement. The size of the hull alone is probably enough to deter most ordinary pirates. There are quite enough of them, Whitebeard, on board. Murphy thought silently. In terms of numbers, the Whitebeard pirates are indeed the largest. But in terms of average combat power, it is also the worst. Because it is too short-sighted, for those guys who want to be pirates or have no way to turn back but are afraid, the Whitebeard pirates is definitely the best place to go. Because the Whitebeard pirates protect their weaknesses and are united, and there are a large number of people, almost no one dares to provoke this behemoth, especially considering the power of Whitebeard, which is extra reassuring. In addition, what Whitebeard wants is family members, not powerful subordinates, and he has almost no requirements for the people below. It can be said that the threshold is quite low. On the deck of the Moby Dick, it's really that Marine. He dared to come to the front of the Moby Dick on his own initiative. He's an interesting guy. an extremely rough voice came from the deck. It was a very strong and burly man. There are black hairs like animals on the body, a big knife in his hand, and very clear tattoos on his arms. If other people see it, they will be able to recognize that the person in front of him is the captain of the Whitebeard pirates. Chapter 40: The Collision of Ryotsu and Conquerors. Previous chapter. Next chapter advertisement. Chapter 40: The Collision of Ryotsu and Conquerors. And this guy Murphy knew too. Captain of the Whitebeard pirates, Hunting Shadow, nicknamed Rhino. It is an ancient rhinoceros fruit ability user, and its strength is extremely terrifying, and it has also awakened the devil fruit ability. Its strength is 2 points more terrifying than Waldo, who was defeated by Murphy before. As that kid, the Marine student who wiped out the entire Sin City alone. Sure enough, he's too young, but it doesn't look like he's the type to do that kind of thing. Hunting Ying stood around the fence and looked at Murphy below with a strange expression. There was no way. Murphy looked so kind and he looked like a good old man. I really don't believe it. Brother Hunting Shadow. That guy has killed many people under our banner, let's just kill him. On the Whitebeard pirates, many people surrounded Lai Ying, persuading Lai Ying to do it directly. If other pirates were visiting, they might also be interested in hearing what was going on, or let Whitebeard decide. But the person who came was a Marine. Marines and pirates already had an endless relationship. How could it be possible for a Marine to come to their ship and leave safely? If this matter gets out, wouldn't it be a joke? But it is precisely because of this that Hunting Shadow is also curious about what Murphy wants to do when he comes to their Moby Dick. Advertisement: put the ladder down. Without further explanation, Hunting Shadow directly asks someone to put the ladder down. Although the pirates below are a little dissatisfied, as the captain of the first team, Hunting Shadow is quite prestigious, and finally put down the ladder obediently, ready to receive guests. However, just waited until those people put the ladder down. In the next second, Murphy used Shunpo to move directly to the deck. This Marine. Seeing Murphy teleport up directly, the people who had just put the ladder up, including many others, looked at Murphy with unfriendly expressions. Are all the students in Marine so arrogant? The ladder laid out for you is kind enough to go up without going, and they use their abilities to go up. Are you looking down on me, the Whitebeard pirates? Angry. Almost all the pirates on the deck are angry. Murphy's behavior was a slap in the face to them. They had put their face down to laying the ladder, and the other party didn't appreciate it. At this time, more than 50 pirates gathered here. All of them looked at Murphy with rather unfriendly expressions, as if there was a sworn hatred between them, and the atmosphere became extraordinarily weird for a while. Stand up. And Murphy was also very sensitive to this weird atmosphere. But Murphy didn't care about the expressions of these people around him. Advertisement: a guy of this level, as long as he releases Ryotsu, he can easily crush his body directly. Whitebeard, his captains, and some exceptionally powerful combat members are probably the only ones on board who can stand against Murphy Ryotsu and move freely. Of course I can't take the route that the pirate showed Marine. Isn't it? Murphy raised his eyebrows and replied with a normal expression. As a Marine, Murphy naturally cannot follow the path of pirates and follow the rules of pirates. The voice just fell. A powerful blue Ryotsu directly sprinkled on the pirates on the Moby Dick. All the pirates under the fighting members present, regardless of their strength, were all unable to move under Murphy's Ryotsu, and even opened their mouths. Can't do it anymore. Of course, this is naturally the result of Murphy's subtle control of his Ryotsu, otherwise, at least 2/3 of them would have died instantly. Killing people like that aboard Whitebeard's Moby Dick, there's really no room for conversation. What's more, Murphy came to visit the host as a guest, and killing people directly is not what a guest should do. This guy actually controlled his own power precisely, and frightened all people with different levels of strength without much damage. Did he not cause any harm to them? Sensing the situation of the people on board, Lai Ying's face became a little strange. Through observation hockey, he could feel that, except for those powerful people, the pressure on everyone was different, and they were all just suppressed and did not hurt the body. And none of them, including Whitebeard, received Ryotsu at all. Advertisement: what an arrogant little brat, dare to mess around on Laozi's boat. Suddenly, a majestic and fierce conqueror's hockey directly spread throughout the entire Moby Dick, and the terrifying coercion emanating from Whitebeard overwhelmingly pressed towards Murphy on the deck. At the same time, Murphy also responded directly with Ryotsu. The mighty Conqueror's Haki and the blue Ryotsu collide with each other. In an instant, the entire sea area was hoped for by the powerful aftermath. With the two of them as the center, the sea around the Moby Dick caused an uproar in all directions. This guy, he can compete with Dad's Conqueror's Haki. Seeing this scene, the captains next to him frowned deeply, looking at the calm and gentle young man in front of them, secretly amazed. It's a bit tricky, this guy. Is this the hospitality of the Whitebeard pirates? Murphy chuckled, looking at Whitebeard and asked plainly. There has never been a guest on Lousy's boat who would do anything to my son casually. An extremely heavy voice came out of Whitebeard's throat, and just the sound of speaking made people feel his anger. It's just a little bit of arrogance. After all, as a marine running on a pirate's ship, it's okay to be careless. Chapter 41. The Duel Against Whitebeard. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. Chapter 41. The Duel Against Whitebeard. Gu la 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 la. A very characteristic loud disappearance echoed around, and at the same time, Whitebeard also took back his Conqueror's Haki. And the Ryotsu on Murphy followed suit. The hull that was still trembling just now stopped quickly. Although it's not Conqueror's Haki, it's not like Conqueror's Haki, but it's not inferior to Daddy at all. As for Murphy's evaluation, all the captains present at the moment directly raised it to a level stronger than their own. Up. To defeat World Destroyer Waldo, among the pirates under Whitebeard, only Captain Hunting Shadow can do it. And this aura that does not lose to their father is even more daunting. Marine's brat, you're really arrogant, Whitebeard, who was on the throne, spoke with an incomparably loud voice. After seeing Murphy's Ryotsu, Whitebeard also became interested. This marine student who is less than 20 years old. As for the idea of killing it in the cradle, Whitebeard didn't have it. To be precise, he didn't even bother to do such a boring thing. Who is he? Whitebeard, Edward Newgate, advertisement. The strongest man in the world. Would such a man be afraid of a genius marine who has not yet grown up? Do not make jokes, others might, but definitely not him, Whitebeard. This kid is much more interesting than the red-haired kid on Roger's boat. Looking at Murphy in front of him, Whitebeard couldn't help thinking of the Roger Pirates, and a certain pirate under the Roger Pirates. Both were born as interns, and Whitebeard saw the strong potential of the other party at a glance. Whether it's red hair or Murphy in front of him, the potential is terrifying. The only difference is that the red hair has not yet grown up to show its due strength, while Murphy has indeed possessed terrifying fighting power. Of course, it is impossible for Whitebeard to imagine that one of the two people he was optimistic about in the future will become the overlord of the new world like him, and he will also be called one of the 4 emperors of the sea. And the other person directly defeated him, forcibly taking away the position of the world's strongest from his hands. Of course, this is all happening in the future, and it's impossible for Whitebeard to know these things now. Now Whitebeard naturally doesn't know what the future will look like. Interesting. Why did you say that? Looking into the eyes of the so-called strongest man in the world, Murphy still didn't change anything. If it was someone else, I'm afraid his whole body would tremble and he couldn't breathe just by looking at these eyes, up. Those oppressive eyes seem to be able to penetrate everything directly. You still ask me why? It's already a big problem for a marine to run into my Whitebeard's boat. Whitebeard said straight to the point. Advertisement. He ran to his boat for no reason, and if the other party had no plans, he would not believe it at all. Following Whitebeard's unkind words, almost all the captains of the Whitebeard pirates looked at Murphy differently. Didn't I make it very clear from the beginning? I just came here for a visit. Gently pushed the square-rimmed glasses on the bridge of the nose. Under the reflection of the bright sunlight, no one noticed Murphy's eyes. Then he added, of course, I also heard that the pirates who visit Whitebeard need to bring a bottle of wine, but first a marine, so naturally I should visit the Whitebeard pirates in the way of marine. Looking at Whitebeard's burly body in front of him, the scars can be said to be a symbol of a man. After speaking, Murphy pulled out the Zanpakuto from his hand, aiming at Whitebeard in front of him. This guy actually intends to provoke Dad. Seeing Murphy's actions, everyone present widened their eyes, looking at the scene in front of them in disbelief. How dare a mere marine student challenge Whitebeard? To be precise, it is to challenge the entire Whitebeard pirates. Such exaggerated behavior has already made them feel not insulted, but shocked. Only Whitebeard smiled when he heard what Murphy said, and then his eyes lit up. A mere marine student came to provoke me. This kind of behavior makes Whitebeard quite unhappy. Whether it won or lost, it is not a glorious thing for Whitebeard. When someone wins, others will only say that the big bullies the small, but Whitebeard, the majestic three big pirates, is actually absolutely invincible with a marine student. That's the case if you win, not to mention if you lose. Advertisement. Even a marine student asked Whitebeard to go out in person, so what about Marine's Vice Admiral? Admiral. Provocative. Duel? If so, just ignore it. As for the reason why Murphy dared to come to him to directly provoke him, he almost understood. The inability is based on the fact that Whitebeard is too embarrassed to deal with the young man. Although he has understood the calculation in Murphy's mind, he has no choice but to leave this conspiracy. At the same time, this also makes Whitebeard a little admired, with both courage and strategy and strength. Obviously, he could leave without making a sound, but he insisted on meeting him for an interview. This kind of courage, he has never seen even in Roger and Golden Lion. Father? Seeing Whitebeard's changing face, Hunter on the side was a little strange and looked in Whitebeard's direction worriedly, not knowing what Whitebeard's plan was. After spending so long in this sea, Hunting Shadow and Whitebeard knew the result of accepting each other's challenge at a glance. It was precisely because of this that Hunting Shadow was a little worried that Whitebeard would accept the opponent's challenge. Chapter 42. Phoenix Margot. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. Chapter 42. Phoenix Margot. For them, this matter is quite embarrassing. Hunting. This kind of hairless brat dares to provoke Lousy. Pick an intern crew member from you to fight with this kid. After speaking, Whitebeard slammed the naginata in his hand to the ground, and then returned to his seat. Go up and sit. Since the other party is a student of Marine, the Whitebeard pirates will also ask the trainee crew to fight him. As for the final outcome, it doesn't matter who wins or loses, and there will be no loss for the Whitebeard pirates. What prestige! Fortunately, seeing that Whitebeard was not overwhelmed by anger, Hunting Shadow was also slightly relieved. As long as Whitebeard doesn't make a move, no matter what the outcome is, it will have no effect on their Whitebeard pirates. As for the grievances between the Whitebeard pirates and Murphy, that can be discussed later, not to mention that there are many people who have enmity with their Whitebeard pirates. If there is no special need, there is no need to risk your own reputation. Damaged situation to do such stupid things. Immediately afterwards, Hunting Shadow turned around and looked at the intern crew members in his team. But under Murphy's Ryotsu just now, even many combat members can't move, let alone his trainee crew. Margot. Come on. Advertisement. At this moment, Hunting Shadow suddenly saw Margot, who was fighting against Murphy Ryotsu with his own ability. Seeing that Margot can still move under Murphy's Ryotsu, although it is said that he is resisting with Devil Fruit ability, it is enough to show Margot's strength. As for Margot, Hunting Shadow also knew about this trainee crew member. Originally, in his capacity, he would basically not remember the name of this trainee crew member. But Margot is different, because Margot is not only his trainee crew, but also Whitebeard's exclusive doctor. It is the same animal demon fruit power as myself, but its ability is even rarer than his ancient species or even Logia devil fruit. The Phantom Beast, bird fruit, and the person with the ability to form a phoenix, possesses a super regenerative ability. Although Margot's strength is still very weak, even if he wants to defeat Margot, he must exhaust the opponent's physical strength. Because the phoenix fruit is not Logia, it can be grabbed directly with Haki. Even if Margot is hit by Haki head-on, he can quickly recover with the devil fruit ability. Margot the Phoenix. I didn't expect to be the captain of the first team in the future. Murphy was also a little surprised to see the person selected by Hunting Shadow. Obviously, 32 years before the start of the plot, Margot must not have such terrible strength, and naturally he couldn't afford to be the captain of the first team of the Whitebeard pirates. However, among the trainee crew, Margot's strength has indeed reached the ceiling, and even some combat members, Margot can rely on his fruit ability to deal with them. That's right, Margot knew about Whitebeard's relationship with rocks, so it's normal to board Whitebeard's boat so early. Thinking of this, Murphy also felt normal. After all, Margot knew that Whitebeard and that Miss Bajan had stayed on the Rock's ship together, so it must have been a very early time to board Whitebeard's ship. Advertisement. Moreover, Margao joined the Whitebeard pirates as a ship doctor, and he must have obtained the devil fruit ability of this Udemon system for a long time. But what surprised Murphy even more is that now Margao has the strength to slowly resist his Ryotsu, and it is no wonder that he can become the leader of the Whitebeard pirates in the future, Whitebeard's right-hand man. Interesting, let's try it. Murphy was also a little interested after glancing at Margao. Anyway, Margao is also the captain of the first team in the future. Although his strength is still relatively weak, the experience he can provide is probably the highest among the Whitebeard pirates, except for Whitebeard himself. Captain Hunting Shadow, Dad, I. Seeing his captain and Whitebeard gesturing for him to fight, Marco was at a loss. From the expressions of Hunting Shadow and Whitebeard just now, he could tell that this battle seemed to be very important. For him, however, it would have been too much to resist Murphy's Ryotsu, let alone do other superfluous things. With such a huge gap, I'm afraid he will only lose in a very ugly way. It doesn't matter that he loses face, but he doesn't want the name of the Whitebeard pirates to be damaged. Margao, go. It doesn't matter whether you win or lose. The most important thing is to know the gap between you and your peers, and then become stronger. Hunter also said comfortingly. The other captains also nodded. Although they haven't fought yet, they already know that Margao will definitely lose. Advertisement after all, some of the captains present may not guarantee that they can last too long in Murphy's hands. The news that Murphy killed World Destroyer was quite popular before, and even World Destroyer was defeated. Most of them did not have World Destroyer how powerful. Only the captain of the first team, Lai Ying, can wrestle with the opponent. I understand. Hearing what his captain said, Margao also knew that he couldn't do it. That being the case, he can only do his best not to lose face. Let's go. After finishing speaking, Margao's whole body was burned with green flames, and he rushed towards Murphy at an extremely fast speed. Seeing this scene, Murphy unhurriedly pulled out the Zanpakuto from his hand. So far, everything that happened on the whole Whitebeard pirate group is in his expectation, even including Whitebeard's thoughts. You must know that Murphy inherited not only strength, but also Aizen's IQ. Chapter 43 Whitebeard's Evaluation Previous chapter Next chapter. Advertisement Chapter 43 Whitebeard's Evaluation. Go to hell. As soon as the words fell, Margao fell from the sky, and his right leg exuding blue flames suddenly stepped on Murphy's direction. Not only that, just before the hit, Margao's right foot faintly turned black. Armament hockey. Although he was only an intern crew member, with the teachings of some members of the Whitebeard pirates, at this time Margao had mastered the use of armament hockey. And Murphy just put the sword in his hand across his face. Next moment, boom, Margao's all-out blow was gone as soon as it hit the Zanpakuto in Murphy's hand. No fancy tricks, just plain Zanpakuto, neutralizing the attack with the same power. Can you block it so easily and control the power output? Seeing the fight between Murphy and Margao, Whitebeard frowned involuntarily. Advertisement. Although he knew that the gap between Margao and Murphy would be huge, he still couldn't believe it when he saw such a huge gap. Damn it. Don't put on such a self-righteous look. Seeing Murphy's calm look, Margao felt his contempt. Lan Yan's wings spread out, and Margao took advantage of this moment to fly up. His arms were like two big sharp knives, and he slashed at Murphy. Puff! Margao didn't have time to see clearly what happened, only a blue light flashed from above. In the next second, I saw Margao staggering 2 steps. Immediately afterwards, he fell directly to the ground. The flames of the phoenix immediately covered Margao's body. Seeing the tragic situation of Margao, many captains were shocked, but they were relieved after seeing the flames of the phoenix ignited. As long as the phoenix's flame is not extinguished, then Margao will be all right. Damn. What is this? The recovery speed has slowed down to 1/10 of the original. However, Margao, who fell on the ground, looked at the injury on his chest in disbelief. The moment Murphy drew his sword just now, he couldn't even see Murphy's Zanpakuto, he just saw a flash of blue light, and he fell straight down. And most importantly, his wound healing speed has actually slowed down. This unusual point made Margao gasp. I suppressed your recovery with my Ryotsu, and if you throw in the towel, that's the end of it. Murphy walked slowly in front of Margao, looked at Margao who was clutching his chest and said indifferently. Advertisement. Although it is said that hockey has been mastered initially, Margao is still too young at this time, and does not pose the slightest threat to him at all. But just when Margao was about to raise his head and refuse to surrender, Ryotsu in Murphy's body directly pressed on him without reservation. For a moment, Margao felt as if he had fallen into hell in an instant. The Murphy in front of him was obviously so close to him, but yet far away. If you think that my Ryotsu is just like this, you are too naive. I can precisely control your recovery speed to only 10%, and I can also use Ryotsu to completely suppress your recovery speed. At that time, the ability you are proud of is useless. Murphy's words made Margao fall into an ice cellar. I lost. Although he said he was reluctant, but in front of that unusually huge Ryotsu, Margao deeply felt his own powerlessness. And Murphy used Ryotsu to restrain his recovery speed as a punishment, which also made Margao feel a deadly threat. Defeat the captain of the Whitebeard pirates in the future, Marco. The template has been unlocked to 15.3%. Along with Margao's voice, the system's notification tone sounded again. Ha 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 ha. At this moment, Whitebeard suddenly burst out laughing, and that majestic and resonant voice immediately dispelled the embarrassing atmosphere on the Moby Dick. Margao, it's normal to lose, and work hard in the future. Whitebeard didn't mean to blame Margao. After all, facing the monster Murphy, to be honest, only the captain of the first team under his team, Hunting Shadow, can fight against the opponent. He also simply wanted to let Margao see the vastness of the world so that he could grow faster in the future. And the more important point is that he has seen how powerful this young Marine student in front of him is. To be honest, the more perfect you are, the more Lousy wants to make you his own son. How about it? Do you want to give up Marine and bear my name? Advertisement Whitebeard's evaluation of Murphy can be said to be quite high, and he even has the idea of poaching Marine's corner, which can make a man like Whitebeard cherish his talents. One can imagine how much the other party's evaluation of Murphy is taller. Sorry, I'm Marine. Without saying a word, Murphy just expressed his current position very firmly. Now he is a Marine. In the future, even if he is not a Marine, he will not be a pirate. Really, it's really enviable for those guys in Marine to get a genius like you. If nothing else happens, your kid might be able to become a Marine Admiral within 10 years. Less than 30 years old Marine Admiral is really enviable. Whitebeard commented very seriously. That's his truest assessment of Murphy. Within 10 years, Murphy must be a Marine Admiral. Hearing this, many people present were a little shocked. It was the first time they had seen Whitebeard praise others so much. Marine Admiral. Undoubtedly, these are also the strongest members of the big pirates who can be compared with the 3 big pirates themselves. Any admiral-level strength can set off a huge wave in this sea area, or directly guard a piece of territory. Chapter 44. Leaving calmly. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. Chapter 44. Leaving calmly. This kid. For a while, many people looked in Murphy's direction with different expressions. To be honest, many of them now have murderous intentions in their hearts. Such a monster exists, and it is the biggest hostile force. They really want to kill it on the spot, and kill it in advance before the opponent has fully grown up. Lose. Otherwise, I am afraid that the other party can suppress the entire sea by himself for 30 or 40 years. But Whitebeard hasn't spoken yet, and it's hard for them to say anything. Are you really unwilling to join? If that's the case, then get off the boat, brat, before I change my mind. Dangle in front of me and look at me with a headache. Whitebeard waved his hand, signaling Murphy to leave. At the same time, it is also a message to the people below me, so that they don't think about strange things. So, farewell. With the usual gentle smile on his face, Murphy turned around, jumped off the Moby Dick, and returned to his own ship. Advertisement, Whitebeard Pirates. They are really simple and easy to understand, guys. Looking back at the huge Moby Dick, Murphy smiled softly. All of Whitebeard's thoughts were within his expectations, and he even showed him his own conspiracy, but the other party could only just step in. Although his current strength is not as good as these monsters, but in terms of IQ and layout, he still crushes everyone. Whitebeard, thanks a lot, Murphy said casually to Whitebeard. This left everyone on Whitebeard's boat a little confused. Brat, hurry up and get out, Whitebeard said with some displeasure. Being taken advantage of by a Marine who can't do anything about his territory is really a bit suffocating. And Murphy didn't stay too long, although he could guarantee that Whitebeard would not do anything. But as the saying goes, a gentleman does not stand behind a dangerous wall. So soon, Murphy's figure also disappeared from the sight of Whitebeard pirates. After getting the exchanged Bailey, Murphy drove back in the direction of the Marine branch. For Murphy, it is not worth paying attention to gaining such a large amount of Pele this time. The key issue is the extremely large amount of experience points gained this time. From the City of Sin to the Whitebeard pirates, Murphy broke through to the Great Swordsman when he first went to sea, only 10% of the unlocked templates, but now it has skyrocketed to 15%. In the real sense, it is second only to the level of the 3 big pirates and Marine Admiral. If it's on Marine's side, it's probably equivalent to backup Admiral's strength. Advertisement. Immediately after Murphy Moby Dick. Above deck, Father, why didn't you take the opportunity just now to get rid of that guy? Looking at Murphy who had gone away, several pirates couldn't help asking Whitebeard. Such a young marine genius, if left alone, it must be the disaster of all the pirates. Even Whitebeard will have trouble dealing with it in the future. You idiot sons. If I had 1/10 of that guy's strategy, I would know why I didn't do it. Looking at the excited pirates beside him, a look of disappointment flashed in Whitebeard's eyes. Not being able to see even such a simple thing is enough to prove that the gap is far away. But although he was a little disappointed, Whitebeard would not say much. After all, they were his sons. Even if he was really disappointed, as a father, Whitebeard would still not give up on them and would still protect them as always. But looking at Murphy slowly disappearing, Whitebeard couldn't help but flashed a flash of emotion in his eyes, and said with emotion, I really envy those old opponents of Marine that they have such an outstanding junior as their heirs. The future era will belong to these young people after all, but that kid Margot is pretty good. I hope he can catch up. Whitebeard silently thought in his heart that the most talented person on his ship is undoubtedly Margot, yes, although there is still a big gap compared with Murphy, compared with his peers. Margot is also a top talent. Advertisement. As for the future, Whitebeard can only hope that Margot will realize his shame and rise up to catch up with Murphy. Among all the captains, only Hunting Shadow noticed that Whitebeard's vision of Margot had changed somewhat. It seems that because of that kid, Dad is also going to start training Margot more. It just so happens that I also have the idea of training him to be the captain of the first team. Hunting Shadow looked at Margot, thinking silently in his heart. Indeed, if you want to compare potential, you want to compare upside, that is, Margot will become stronger soon. I hope I can catch up with that monster in the future. Hunting Ying directly labeled Murphy as a monster, and didn't expect Marco to surpass him from the beginning, but only expected Marco to keep up with this pace. After all, by now, he had already sensed the danger in Murphy and Margot, not far away. Even compared to his age, Margot has no advantage at all. The only advantage he has is probably Margot's Devil Fruit ability. The Devil Fruit ability of you demons is even more terrifying than most Logia, but human energy is limited after all. If the other party does not eat Devil Fruit at all, and only purely cultivates the body, then the advantage of Devil Fruit is not, it won't be so obvious. When the others saw that Whitebeard and Hunting Shadow had stopped talking, they didn't know what to say, so they had to shut up obediently and looked at Murphy, who was gradually going away, with all kinds of doubts in their hearts. Chapter 45. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. Chapter 45. Meanwhile, after leaving, Murphy also took out the phone bug immediately. Brew brew. Brew brew. The characteristic voice of a telephone bug echoes across the boat. After half a ring, the phone bug was connected. Murphy kid, are you done with your matter? What trouble do you have? Would you like me to help you solve it? On the other end of the phone bug came Garp's trademark unreliable voice. No, everything is going well, of course, if I have to say, the trouble is over. Murphy replied with a smile. Indeed, everything so far has played out exactly as the plot in Murphy's head. It can be said that the journey was smooth and everything went well. Of course, from someone else's point of view, getting on Whitebeard's boat was a bit of a thrill. Advertisement, but for him, it was still within his expectations, and it was not out of his control. Already close to trouble? What you can call trouble is probably not that simple. Hearing Murphy's answer, Garp asked curiously. Before leaving, Murphy was already a great swordsman, and he had killed monsters like Valder. Something that Murphy could call a nuisance must be quite unusual. Well, I went to Whitebeard's Moby Dick. Murphy truthfully told the story of his going to the Whitebeard pirates. From his point of view, there was nothing to hide. What? You said you went to Whitebeard's Moby Dick. What did that Whitebeard guy do? Did he do something to you? Is anyone missing an arm or a leg? Lousy will be here soon? When he heard that Murphy had gone to Whitebeard's boat, Garp jumped up from his office desk. He was even anxious to go to sea to find the Whitebeard dignitaries soon. No way. What Murphy said was that smashing to death is too scary. The Whitebeard pirates are one of the scariest pirates in the world, and even he has to do his best to take it seriously, and he can't get any benefits. Vice Admiral Garp, don't worry. I've already left Whitebeard, and I'm rushing back to the branch now. Hearing Garp's hurried voice on the other side, Murphy couldn't laugh or cry. It should be said that it is Garp. Doing things is always so vigorous and carefree. Of course, given how much Naval Headquarters sees Murphy's potential, Garp's look is understandable. After hearing that Murphy had left safely, Garp also heaved a sigh of relief, and then asked with some doubts. Have you already left? That's good. By the way, why did you get on Whitebeard's boat? Immediately afterwards, Murphy naturally briefly talked about the things along the way. Of course, he did not mention the fact that he calculated Whitebeard, but simply said that he visited the other party and there was no conflict. Advertisement hearing this, Garp also shuddered behind his back. It's also a good thing that Whitebeard didn't do anything, which would be really bad. After all, with his IQ, it is still difficult to figure out the psychological game involved. Of course, Garp didn't bother to think about it too much, as long as people were okay. Since that's the case, then Vice Admiral Garp, I'll go straight back in the direction of the Marine branch. After briefly speaking, Murphy was about to hang up the phone bug. But just when I was about to hang up suddenly, Garp's suspicious voice came from the other end of the phone bug and asked. Wait, Murphy boy, you said you went to Whitebeard's Moby Dick, did that guy not mention anything to you? Although Garp is careless, he has been dealing with Whitebeard for so long, and he doesn't believe that Murphy and Whitebeard can get along well. What did Whitebeard say to me? He wanted me to join the Whitebeard pirates, but I directly rejected it. After thinking about it for a while, it seems that this is the most important thing Whitebeard said to him. As for other things, then he has nothing particularly worth mentioning. But after hearing Murphy say that Whitebeard invited him on the boat, Garp froze for a few seconds and then. Ha 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 ha. What followed was Garp's wild and incomparably loud laughter. Even through the phone bug, Murphy seemed to be able to see Garp laughing in the office with tears streaming down his chest and beating his feet. Whitebeard, this guy actually poached someone to come to me. I laughed so hard. Advertisement Garp wanted to laugh out loud at the thought that Whitebeard would come to poach their Marines. As an old opponent, although Garp's main opponent is not Whitebeard, he is also a character who is often used to compare with each other. It is quite comfortable for Garp to see that Whitebeard is deflated, and the person who actively recruited them is deflated. Reject Whitebeard's solicitation boy in Whitebeard's face, well done. For Murphy's approach, Garp can only express considerable regret. It's a pity that I wasn't there. If I was there, I could see Whitebeard's ugly face. Let alone seeing it, just imagining it, Garp couldn't bear it. But this also surprised Garp secretly. Although he knew that Murphy had great potential and had already shown extraordinary combat effectiveness, he didn't expect that Whitebeard would actually show his face to do such a thing. On the one hand, this also shows Murphy's strong potential and strength, even scary enough to make Whitebeard feel afraid. So that the proud Whitebeard came directly to poach the corner of their Marine. But who is Murphy? Murphy is the treasure of their Marine. How could it be so easy for others to dig him over? What's more, Marshal Kong appointed Murphy to be the future marshal. Chapter 46. 1 year later. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. Chapter 46. 1 year later. Boy, you don't need to go to sea again after you come back this time. Anyway, you've already finished your internship. Garp followed closely. He had made up his mind that he would not put Murphy in the New World as soon as he came back. Anyway, Murphy's strength is now close to that of Marine's Admiral, and there is not much difference between staying in New World. He still kept a close eye on Murphy in the New World branch. The first thing was not to put Murphy in any danger. The second is to prevent Murphy from being fooled by those weird pirates. Although the possibility of this is extremely low, not one of the 10,000 Marines will betray and become a pirate. But now Murphy is the darling in the eyes of the entire Marine executives. If such a person becomes a pirate, even if the possibility is very low, they have to guard against it. So now his strategy is to bring Murphy back to the Marine base, stay away from that dangerous place, and let Murphy slowly cultivate Marine's character in the branch with peace of mind. Time is like a fleeting moment advertisement. Soon, time passed. It's been a year since Murphy just set sail. Of course, during this year, he basically stayed in the Marine branch to handle some matters and help make some decisions. By this time, Garp discovered that Murphy had a unique talent in decision-making and strategy. Just through Murphy's strategy, their Marine casualties in New World dropped by 30%, and the total number of captured pirates also rose a lot. At first Garp was just trying to get Murphy to handle some of that. But I didn't expect Murphy to be so talented. Even later, the Chief of Staff of the Marine branch has become Murphy's assistant. More than 90% of the decisions of the Marine branch are made by Murphy. And through Murphy's decision, the entire Marine branch has become stronger, and the number of captured pirates and the decrease in casualty rate are the most direct reflections. And this incident also made Murphy quite famous in the entire Marine branch, and even the entire New World Marine. In the office, Murphy processed a document in his hand and placed it on the table. Has it been a year? I heard that Mr. Zephyr has brought them back as an intern. It looks like it's time for me to leave. Staying in the Marine branch of New World, Murphy naturally couldn't understand what they did after they came to New World Move. Murphy, if you don't say it, I'll almost forget that you're still a student of the elite camp. How about it? Otherwise, if you come to me after graduation this time, you may be able to replace me in a few years. Advertisement on the desk opposite Murphy, a Marine branch Vice Admiral, about 60 years old, looked at him with a smile. He is the staff officer of this New World Marine branch. Although he is the Vice Admiral of the Marine branch, he has quite a lot of experience, so this Vice Admiral was quite prestigious before Murphy came. But with the arrival of Murphy and a series of changes, Murphy's reputation has completely surpassed the old Vice Admiral. However, he is not angry at all. After all, he is already over 60 years old, and he himself is about to retire. It is estimated that he will stay in this position for another year or two. When a suitable replacement is found at the headquarters, he can take the "I will hang up a casual job here and then I will retire in my hometown." Hidden Vice Admiral, it depends on the future arrangements of the headquarters, and I can't make a decision. What's more, this position must be held by the Rear Admiral of the headquarters or the Vice Admiral of the branch. Murphy pushed his glasses on the seat, replied very humbly. That incomparably gentle attitude made it hard to find any faults. This gentle and humble appearance is exactly the type that makes this kind of old man take extra care. Ha ha ha. That's true, but I will also write a letter to help support you, and ask the Marshal to give you a position where you can display your talents faster. The old Vice Admiral also smiled. As the saying goes, reciprocity is reciprocal. Murphy has done so many things here without asking for anything in return, and the old Vice Admiral has always been a little bit sorry. So in fact, as early as a month ago, the old Vice Admiral had already collected some petitions for him without telling Murphy in private, hoping that the headquarters could make an exception and quickly give Murphy a suitable position to play. Due to Murphy's reputation in the branch, the number of real named people in this petition has already exceeded 1,000. Then trouble old Vice Admiral. Murphy also responded with a smile. For this, Murphy did not refuse. Advertisement after finishing writing, Murphy also left the office. After briefly explaining to Garp that he was going back to the headquarters, Murphy took advantage of a warship that was just about to return to the headquarters in the afternoon, and prepared to go back together on the way. Sakazuki, Paluzolino. I wonder how their strengths are going. Murphy was looking forward to these two future Marine admirals. After a long time, after Zephyr's cultivation and New World's short-term experience, I believe their strength has grown a lot. It's just a pity that he has already gained experience from the two of them before, and now he has no way to gain a second experience. If you want to gain experience again, you have to wait 20 years. However, this does not affect any major issues. When returning to the elite camp for the last exam, 9 times out of 10, he still fights Zephyr himself. To what extent will Zephyr release water at that time, and if he really defeats Zephyr in the state of releasing water, can he obtain the template unlocking degree of Marine Admiral's strength? These are the questions that matter most to Murphy. Chapter 47 Arrive Previous Chapter Next Chapter Advertisement. Chapter 47 Arrive the Other Side Naval Headquarters. It's finally over. After arriving at the coast, the students of the elite camp also breathed a sigh of relief. Compared with the purgatory-like place in New World, naval headquarters can make them feel more at ease. After all, not everyone has the strength like Sakazuki Paluzolino. The vast majority of pirates facing the New World can be easily defeated. Even if they encounter strong ones, there will be no danger. For many people, the New World journey is quite dangerous, and they will lose their lives if they are not careful, even with Zephyr watching over them, but for them, it is still very important to concentrate on the battle. After a 2-month internship, they were also exhausted. After arriving at naval headquarters, the tight nerves were finally loosened. But after the internship is over, it's time for that guy to come back, right? Advertisement among the crowd, someone suddenly mentioned something. All of a sudden, this made everyone's thoughts drift to the day when they just entered the elite camp a year ago. Successfully won the first place with a posture that almost crushed everyone, and then showed a stunned super talent, and instantly learned the two-color hockey. Then they were sent directly to New World to practice in a special case. Even if they were in the elite camp, they heard a lot of news from New World. Especially the news about Murphy, World Destroyer, City of Sin. 2 world-shattering events instantly made Murphy one of the biggest names in the New World and made Marine's rising star all the rage. Even Whitebeard can't help but want to poach the corner of his worst enemy Marine, which is enough to explain everything. That guy? And Sakazuki's mind also emerged the scene of that year. He was directly suppressed by Murphy's huge Ryotsu and couldn't move. That feeling is still deeply engraved in his mind until now. The kind of strength that is as powerful as a monster. But mine is completely different now. Sakazuki's face was very serious. Advertisement. How can it be so easy to become a Marine Admiral? During this period of time, Sakazuki's strength has also improved a lot, and after the experience of New World, now Sakazuki's control over the two-color hockey has become like a fish in water. You're really attached to that guy, but I'm afraid the gap is getting bigger and bigger. Paluzolino looked at Sakazuki, who was full of fighting spirit, with a lazy look. Although I was a little reconciled at first, Paluzolino is also a self-proclaimed genius after all. But with the passage of time, he also slowly looked away from this matter. Don't look at Paluzolino's lazy and indifferent appearance, but when he actually meets a stronger opponent than himself, the unique competitive psychology among geniuses will still be aroused. Otherwise, without that strengthened heart, Paluzolino would not have become so powerful. It's just that he has already seen through that Murphy is not at the same level as the geniuses of their level, and that is a level that must be looked up to. I will catch up with this gap, Sakazuki replied very unwillingly. What he disliked the most was Paluzolino's lazy look. Naturally, it was impossible for him to collude with Paluzolino. Don't be too leisurely. You have been resting on the ship for several days. Start preparing for the final assessment immediately. As soon as he came to his senses, Zephyr non-stop began to prepare for the final test on these people. After all, his time is also very tight. After the test of this batch, he still needs to prepare for the next batch of students. Teacher Zephyr? Don't wait for Murphy? He didn't come back with us. A student from the elite camp asked at this time. Don't worry, that guy has already left the branch of New World, and now it is estimated that he should be almost at naval headquarters, Zephyr replied. Advertisement. The road from naval headquarters to the Marine branch is naturally impossible and dangerous. Not only is there no bad weather, it can even be said that there are no pirates, and through the special eddy current of the Marine, Zephyr can be sure that Murphy will arrive here in a short time. No, it's already here. At this moment, from the back of the port, the figure of a young man in white slowly appeared in front of everyone. Aizen pushed his glasses and looked at the people in front of him who had been separated for a year, with a gentle smile on his face as always. Murphy arrived at naval headquarters one step earlier than Zephyr et al. And Zephyr also set his sights on Murphy. A year has passed, as if nothing has changed, the boy is still the same as he saw a year ago. That young man who is approachable and gentle, who can't find any faults, who can't raise the slightest smoke, is excellent, humble, intelligent, respects his teachers, and has lofty ideals. The boy who once said in front of him that he wants to be a hero. He is also very concerned about Murphy Zephyr. He knows what Murphy did during the New World period. Everything is just like what Murphy said before, and he is approaching the direction of the word hero. Okay. It's all here. Soon. Zephyr also came back to his senses, interrupted the noisy crowd with one sentence, and then said, "Since all the members are here, we can start. A group of 3 will be teammates. Come and fight me directly. I will use the most direct and simplest method to determine what level your strength is. Whether you can graduate or not, and the distribution after graduation are all subjective judgments by myself." 22% Chapter 48, The Matchmaking Crane Vice Admiral. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. Chapter 48, Matchmaking Crane Vice Admiral. Although what Zephyr said was quite rude, and everything was judged by him, no one had any opinions. They also don't think that Zephyr will deliberately target one of them to prevent him from graduating, not to mention that actual combat is indeed the best way to show strength. Give you some time to determine your teammates and tactics. It will officially start at the training ground of the elite camp at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. After speaking, Zephyr left directly. While sending away the first batch of elite camp students, he also needs to pick up the second batch of elite camp students. A team of 3. Sakazuki. Paluzolino, how about a team of 3 of us? After seeing Zephyr leave, Murphy immediately set his sights on Sakazuki and Paluzolino next to him. Although it seems a little arrogant to say so, the fact is that they are the only people in the entire elite camp who are qualified to be his teammates. "It's fine on my side," Paluzolino simply responded. For him, no matter who invites him to form a team, Paluzolino will agree. This is probably because of personality reasons. "Although I really want to compete with you, it's good to be a teammate, and I can also intuitively feel your strength." Sakazuki also nodded. Although he said he would like to fight Murphy again, Sakazuki is not stupid enough to fight now. After all, there will be a test later. Advertisement. What's more, as a teammate, Sakazuki can also clearly perceive the changes in Murphy's strength. As for the duel, there will still be opportunities in the future. Afternoon. As the sun rose to the highest point, the scorching light shone on them. After lunch, many people stayed directly in the training ground to bask in the sun. "The time seems to be around the corner, right?" Paluzolino commented softly after glancing at the high sun. After a while, all the students have gathered in the training ground. Under Zephyr's strict teaching, they all arrived at the training ground long in advance to avoid any accidents. Fortunately, Zephyr was more punctual. Paluzolino just complained that he didn't understand the 10 minutes, and Zephyr walked to the training ground of the elite camp. "The test method is very simple. I am your enemy. As long as you can attack me, it will be worth 1 point. If it is a fatal part, it will be worth 3 points. And if I attack you, you will be deducted accordingly. Of course, in the end the evaluation score I gave in the final comprehensive consideration. The way Zephyr tests them is also very easy to understand, simple and rude. Although there are some loopholes, at least they are fair to the few elite camp students like them. Of course, if the 3 of you add up to a negative score, then you will definitely fail." At this moment, Zephyr immediately added another sentence. Advertisement. Hearing this, although many people had already made preparations, they couldn't help but feel their hearts tighten. In the elite camp this year, it can be said that they have made unimaginable or completely unbearable efforts, and Zephyr will not let them down. Up to now, if they fail, their hard work and sweat will be completely negated. In any case, they don't want to fail. Looking at the tense atmosphere around, only Murphy and the 3 of them were quite calm. "Is this the first batch of elite camp students?" "It looks like that." A young voice sounded from the outside of the training ground. "I saw a woman wearing a Marine Vice Admiral cloak." Vice Admiral was leading a girl younger than Murphy to watch the battle here. And the person who spoke just now was this little girl who looked a little young. That's right, these 2 people are the current Marine Vice Admiral Suru and her step-sister Ito. Although Zun is still very young, even much younger than Murphy, his strength is not bad at all, and he has already reached the threshold of the elite camp. Among the group of guys in their 20s in the elite camp, there are probably quite a few people who can't beat Zun, so it's no wonder that Zun would say, "That's it." Although you are quite talented, there are not a few people in the elite camp who are stronger than you. Especially that guy. The 2 people next to him are also not weaker than you. Regarding Zun's words, Crane Vice Admiral did not comment, and it was to signal Zun to put his eyes on Murphy on the opposite side. Advertisement. Hearing what Suru Vice Admiral said, Zun also looked curiously at Murphy in the training ground over there. I can't feel anything, but he's quite handsome. The two ugly guys next to him are quite powerful. After careful observation, Zun didn't see how strong Murphy was. It's just that for Murphy's appearance, Zun showed his liking very openly. Anyway, the people inside couldn't hear what he said, and there was only her elder sister, he Vice Admiral, next to her, and Zun was very unrestrained. Hee. It's normal for you not to be able to see his strength, just like you can't see my strength now. Crane also smiled, and briefly explained Zun's question. Now Murphy's strength is already quite close to the Admiral level, and he is also at the same level, so it's normal that Zun can't see anything. As good as sister he? How is that possible? He's not even 20 years old, is he? After hearing what the Crane said, Ji-Yuan looked at the Crane in disbelief. But Crane didn't answer directly, but asked with a teasing smile. Since you like him, Ji-Yuan, would you like me to tell you something for you? It just seems that the two of you are quite suitable. Crane didn't say this on a whim, he really thought Murphy and Yuan were quite suitable. Chapter 49. The test begins. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. Chapter 49. The test begins. It goes without saying that Zun is her own younger sister, and for Murphy, the brightest new star in Marine, Crane naturally knows a lot about it. With the proper template of a modest gentleman, coupled with his strong talent, Marine's internal senior management is already extremely optimistic about Murphy's future, and it is only natural that Crane would have such an idea. Sister he. What are you talking about? Hearing what he said, Zun couldn't help but blush. But Zun couldn't help but peeked at Murphy's direction twice. Seeing Zun's small movements, he just smiled and didn't say anything. She just mentioned that the affairs of the young people should be left to the young people themselves. When she really needed her, she would help them pierce the layer of paper. Of course, she is more than happy to help create some small opportunities. Look, the test has begun. At this time, the following final test has also begun. Of course, this is not a plot of pretending to face, the protagonist must be the last to appear. Advertisement. As soon as Zephyr asked people to come up, Sakazuki, who was a fighting maniac, rushed up first without any explanation. Seeing Sakazuki walking in front of Zephyr, Murphy and Paluzolino looked at each other helplessly, and walked up together. From the moment they chose Sakazuki as a teammate, they already guessed that they would be the first to go up and fight Zephyr. HMPH. It's still as frizzy as ever. Let's start. Looking at Sakazuki's eager look, Zephyr said this with some dissatisfaction. But that's all he said. When it's time to fight, he won't change anything because of it. If you two don't go up, then I will go up first. Sakazuki turned his head and glanced at Murphy and Paluzolino, who were still on the sidelines. Mustang glanced straight at Zephyr. Although the training ground was huge, it was nothing to people of their level, so Sakazuki rushed to Zephyr in the blink of an eye. However, he didn't punch directly, but suddenly lowered his center of gravity, turned sideways, and his right foot turned into magma and kicked Zephyr directly. Mortal wisdom. Zephyr didn't even take a closer look, and his arm turned black to look like armament hockey, then ignored the extremely hot magma and grabbed Sakazuki's feet, and threw it out with a sudden force. However, Sakazuki suddenly turned over in the air, followed by a successful smile on his face. Great eruption. Suddenly, Sakazuki, who was in the air, shot a great eruption directly at Zephyr in an extremely weird posture. Advertisement. And Zephyr didn't plan to use hockey to hard block this time, but quickly stepped back. Cut. Did you fail? Seeing that Zephyr didn't use hockey to meet his attack, Sakazuki's heart tightened. If Zephyr had received great eruption head-on just now, he would have gotten a lot of points. After all, there are countless rocks hidden in the great eruption. Murphy also shook his head when he saw this. Sakazuki's desire to win was too heavy, and Zephyr saw through his calculations in an instant, and rushed up alone without the help of him and Paluzolino. Trying to win it is impossible to get cheap. Really, if that's the case, I have to make a move. Seeing this situation, Paluzolino didn't plan to paddle anymore. His speed is the fastest among the three, and Zephyr didn't ask for the quality of the attack, just the number of times they hit Zephyr's body. That being the case, he is the best choice as the main attacker. In the next second, Paluzolino turned into a spot of light and moved beside Zephyr in an instant, kicking Zephyr in the abdomen. Pelusolino's actions have long been observed by observation hockey. Seeing Pelusolino's attack style, Zephyr couldn't help reminding again. Pelusolino, I should have told you, don't rely too much on your own abilities. Immediately afterwards, Zephyr was unhurried, covered armament hockey with his right hand, and slammed directly at Pelusolino, sending him a few meters away. It's so easy to break them up. Should it be said that it is Teacher Zephyr? The other students were also a little surprised that Pelusolino and Sakazuki's offensive and plot were so easily resolved. Advertisement at the same time, I felt a little uneasy. Facing such a powerful Zephyr, even monsters like Pelusolino and Sakazuki would not be able to get any benefits. It is conceivable how difficult it is for them to graduate. And the two people present were equally aware of this. The hot-tempered Sakazuki saw that his attacks did not work several times, while Murphy was still watching, and shouted anxiously, "Murphy, let's do it together." "Are you going to do it?" Zephyr was also watching Murphy from the corner of his eye. He knew very well that among the three, Murphy was the strongest, and he was a terrifyingly strong type. "Since you've said that, it doesn't matter if you don't do it." Murphy looked in Zephyr's direction, put his hands on his waist slowly, and reminded, "Teacher Zephyr, please be careful." A student of the elite battalion told Admiral Zephyr to be careful. It would be ridiculous if others found out. But the fact is that it is so. The moment Murphy put his hand on his waist Zanpakuto, a terrible chill hit his whole body. Sure enough, this kid is already close to Admiral's fighting power, but there is a huge difference between Admiral and Admiral. Chapter 50 Singles Zephyr Previous Chapter Next Chapter. Advertisement Chapter 50 Singles Zephyr. Of course, this is just a graduation test, and Zephyr naturally cannot go all out. The current Zephyr has probably suppressed his strength to the level of Vice Admiral, which is a bit weaker than Murphy, who is close to Admiral. Growing up so fast, Zephyr thought in surprise, and in the next second, Zephyr felt a very dangerous aura. Brush. In the next instant, a terrifying slash directly split the entire training ground into two from the middle. The fusion of the blue Ryotsu and the sword energy ruthlessly tore the ground apart and roared towards Zephyr. I can't resist. Zephyr made his choice immediately, jumping away to the other side. Buzz buzz. The extremely powerful sword energy directly penetrated the field and even the fence of the training camp, and hit the large forest on the back mountain. The scene that seemed to be swept away by a hurricane made people feel shocked. Thick dust filled the field of vision like winter morning frost. After a long time, a gully about 1 meter thick that was torn open on the ground was displayed in front of everyone, shocking everyone's hearts. Although I heard that this kid has stepped into the realm of a great swordsman, I didn't expect to be so strong. Zephyr also looked at Murphy in shock, unable to calm down for a long time. Advertisement. Although he had learned from Garp that Murphy had broken through the realm of a great swordsman and was able to defeat a powerful opponent like World Destroyer, but after seeing it with his own eyes, he still felt that it was a bit too exaggerated. Good. So amazing. No wonder sister he commented on him like that. Ziyuan, who was outside, murmured in shock after seeing this scene. He finally understood why he commented on Murphy like that. Could it be boy? Although the power is pretty good, but such an attack won't get points. Zephyr reminded Murphy. Although the great swordsman's slashes are indeed terrifying and extremely astonishing, if they follow the test rules, their evaluation scores will not be very high. No, from the very beginning, I didn't think about getting a high score. I just wanted to know my current strength, Murphy said slowly, not paying attention to the surprised expressions of others. To be precise, Murphy wants to know whether he can defeat Zephyr in the water state, and whether he can get enough experience points. This is the most important thing for him. As soon as the voice fell, Murphy's figure disappeared instantly. This kid, he's really good, it's too much, it even makes people feel a little out of reach. Seeing Murphy rushing up, Zephyr glanced at Sakazuki and Palooza next to him with uncertain faces. Lino. How could Zephyr not understand how these two felt? Facing such an outstanding peer, the two geniuses more or less had the idea of competing against each other. Both of them failed to get a bargain from Zephyr, and Murphy even gained an advantage against Zephyr in singles. Of course, out of surprise, Zephyr also became more cautious. Fighting against the current Murphy, I'm afraid they will fall into a bitter battle. But it's impossible for him to fully reveal his strength because Murphy's strength is too strong, Otherwise, it would be unfair for the exam to fight with different levels of strength. So Zephyr can only bite the bullet and continue fighting. Advertisement. Seeing that Murphy had rushed forward, Zephyr could only cover armament hockey on his arm and charged towards Murphy. Bang! Armament hockey's fist collided with Zanpakuto, and the sharp blade collided with the fist as hard as steel. Hado number 4 White Thunder, and at this moment, Murphy's left hand suddenly raised, aimed at Zephyr's neck, and a white thunder shot out directly. Faced with Murphy's merciless blow, Zephyr could only squat down immediately, and then quickly backed away. Hado's 31 Red Cannon. As soon as Zephyr's figure stopped, a huge flame blasted towards Zephyr. Boom! Zephyr crossed his arms directly in front of him, and directly blocked the huge flames with armament hockey. What a powerful power! Sensing the power of this Kido, Zephyr said in surprise. But immediately, Zephyr also adjusted immediately, raised his fist and swung it down. Boom! Armament hockey's covered fist flew quickly, like a black shooting star passing by at noon, roaring down towards Murphy. Like a hurricane, a layer of airwaves was set off, and the wind blew so hard that people couldn't keep their eyes open. Advertisement. But Murphy didn't dodge, but just stood there. The proud son of heaven, the iron wall, the dragon's walk, the lion's roar, the tiger's roar, the wolf's run, cut off the sky and the earth before it collapses. Bakudo's 81 Splitting Void. Just as Zephyr's attack had just arrived, Murphy's chant had ended. Boom! A huge translucent protective film suddenly appeared in front of Murphy out of thin air. The pitch-black fist slammed directly on the wall, making an astonishing explosion. How is this possible? The dust dispersed, and seeing that the defense made by the splitting void in front of him hadn't been breached at all, Zephyr's pupils shrank, and an expression of disbelief appeared in his eyes. Although he has restrained his strength to the level of Vice Admiral, Vice Admiral's strength is not as bad as imagined. There are only a few Vice Admirals in the whole world, which can be said to be second only to Admiral's combat power. Usually Admiral is not suitable for handling or has no time to deal with things that are done by Vice Admiral. Although there is a big gap with Admiral, its strength is still quite worthy of recognition. However, under such circumstances, his full blow was so easily blocked.